The tape, let's grind. Shut up. The tape. Let's grind. The tape. We do a little bit different around here.
We ain't gonna play. Shut up and grind the tape.
Let's grind.
We ain't gonna play. Them dogs in your face.
Let's grind.
We ain't gonna play. Shut up and grind the tape.
Let's grind.
We ain't gonna play. Them dogs in your face. Grind.
Let's grind.
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape.
The tape. Let's grind.
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Shut up and grind. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape.
The tape.
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro.
The tape.
UGA game day, boy, we ball out. Pull up, put the whole conference in the doghouse. Leave them 6 feet, see me on the win streak. All-star status, go coach and the bench deep. Right. Offense on 10, how we run it? Your best ain't nothing, we gon' send them boys punting. Black and red, got them dead on arrival. Defense hunker down for the tie. Hey, you don't want it with the dogs. Found guy on it, you don't want it with my dog. Break it down, play by play, that's the day-to-day. They know we ain't come to play, boy, it's UGA. Kirby smart, I cannot play the fool. Back to back, we did not come to lose. Back to back, like we got something to prove. Pay your dues, dog nation on the move. What's up?
We do a little bit different around here.
We ain't gonna play. Shut up and grind the tape.
The tape.
We ain't gonna play. Them dogs in your face.
Let's grind.
We ain't gonna play. Shut up and grind the tape.
Shut up. Let's grind.
We ain't gonna play. Them dogs in your face. Shut up and grind.
Let's grind.
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape.
The
Shut
tape.
up and grind.
Let's grind.
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Shut up and grind. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape. Shut up and grind. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro.
Shut up.
Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to MBR, or as we like to call it around here, Nothing But Rants, the show where I find topics that I'm oddly passionate about and I pontificate upon them. These are not hot takes, but rather takes that I'm hot about. What's up? You like that? You really like that?
Let's shut up and grind some tape.
I even wrote my notes today that I was going to think about something pre-show and have it as like a cold opening, you know, like some podcasts do when they don't have a real elongated dissertation to start the show. They just start randomly with a cold open. And I just blew the wad on the cold open talking about the third down shot last night prior to the show. I was really surprised last night I didn't crack my vocal cords because I damn sure cracked the mic.
Yeah, no, like I said, it was a very good third down call.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, what is up, guys? Welcome in. We got a loaded show for you guys tonight. Too loaded for an open. We got What If Wednesday. We're going to be taking a peek today. Who's hurting more after a potential loss this weekend? We'll talk about it. Teams that should make the playoffs. Going through it right about now, to be honest with you, there's not a ton of like guaranteed locks in my opinion in terms of college football playoff picture as of right now. We'll debate that tonight. Are Power 4 coaches actually going to get fired? Anybody going down this year? Something we'll talk about tonight. But I want to start with this topic, unless the SEC injury report just hit, which it appears it has. No?
Not yet, no.
No, okay. You what?
Not yet.
Okay, you guys look like you were scrambling to do something.
I've noticed it starts, I think it drops at 8:05. I think they tease us a little bit.
5-minute delay.
I love that.
Build the suspense.
Yeah, make us get into our work hour, and then they're like, hey, the Film Guy Network's live. Let's go ahead and drop that injury report. But I want to start with this topic. You know, all this conference realignment has created some really fun storylines, and particularly matchups, right? I feel like every single weekend when I turn on college football, or at least when I preview the slate, right, we got big-time brands like Blue Bloods matching it up, lining it up, teeing it up every single weekend. And this has to do with not only conference expansion, but the removal of divisions in all of these Power 4 conferences because of the conference expansion, right? The locations of these schools in most of these conferences have kind of made it a little bit silly to even have divisions, particularly for competitive balance as well. So we've seen a lot of these blue bloods and a lot of these big-time brands and matchups bang and clash every single weekend, and we've obviously seen tremendous storylines from it, though perhaps, at least in my opinion, the funniest storylines we have going on with conference realignment and conference expansion is what's going on and what's laying forward in terms of the next month over college football with regards to these college or these conference championship games, guys. This is coming down to some, like, everyone released their tie-breaking rules. Guys, I think almost every conference might have to venture into these tiebreakers if you just look at it at a bird's eye view right now, okay? Looking at the SEC, for example, LSU, Texas A&M, and Georgia all have the opportunity, and some would pick them to win out. If all three of those football teams win out, you have 3 SEC teams at the top of the conference tied at 11-1. It will go down to conference tiebreakers. I think Georgia loses those.
Yeah.
And Texas A&M and LSU will play one another again in the SEC championship game. That's just the SEC. You look at the Big Ten. I think the Big Ten's got the craziest one going on right now. And I'm going to say this, and I only saw it because it went viral on the old TikTok. Guys, did you know that Oregon could go undefeated in their first ever season in the Big Ten and not be invited to the conference championship game?
How the heck does that work?
Really?
Yep. All right, so here's how this happens. Indiana and Penn State both undefeated at this point in the season.
Yes.
Okay? Indiana and Penn State both have to face Ohio State this season, as did Oregon. That would be their one common opponent. All right? If Indiana and Penn State win that football game by more than 1 point, which is all that Oregon beat Ohio State by.
Correct.
Oregon's sitting at home 12-0 during conference championship weekend.
That's insane.
Kind of love that.
That's insane. It's absolutely insane. I love it. Matter of fact, I think Dan Lanning might be like, all right.
Okay.
What, automatic 5 seed?
Yeah.
Automatic 5 seed.
Automatic.
We'll appreciate that one. So, yeah, the Big Ten's nuts. Guys, the ACC has 4 undefeated teams in conference play right now. Miami and Clemson do not play each other this year. So safe to assume they're going to be undefeated come championship weekend. All right, SMU and Pitt play this weekend. Both teams undefeated in conference play. One of those most likely going to come out of the ACC slate undefeated in conference play. So there's an opportunity. The ACC has 3 undefeated teams in conference play towards conference championship weekend. The Big 12 seems to be the one that's kind of clarified right now. BYU undefeated in conference play with another team in Iowa State undefeated in conference play. However, K-State plays Iowa State to close the football season. So, like, that could get jumbled really, really quickly with 2 11-1 football teams. Oh, by the way, Colorado's on the outside looking in out there as well. So these conference championship games, guys, they're getting crazier and crazier, and I think we're leading ourselves into a potential area where college football fan bases are going to feel as if they've been screwed towards the end of the season. And, you know, when I grew up back in my day of college football, just about, I don't know, maybe a year ago, back in my day of college football, most of the times when teams were really, really good and they didn't get a chance to compete or play for a national title, 9 times out of 10, they had a singular game that they had an opportunity to win that they did not, right? If we would have just beaten, I don't know, Alabama in 2012, guys, we're going to beat the dog shit out of Notre Dame. Like, there's tons of fan bases that have this type of example. And now, guys, I think we're going to open up the door for that example being, guys, we would have won a national title in 2024 had we not lost the coin toss to decide if we go to a conference championship game.
Yeah, I think the one silver lining of this is that we did lay out how playing in the conference championship isn't necessarily a necessity now. It's more of it's kind of, it benefits you in a way that, yes, you get that first round bye, but if you're not playing in a conference championship, you're still getting some form of a bye because you're not playing in a game like that. So
I think bottom line, we're going to have teams absolutely pissed off come end of conference championship weekend, and then they're going to decide whether or not you're in the college football playoff and what your seeding is.
I think, too, what's interesting in the ACC is not only do Clemson and Miami not play one another, SMU does not play Clemson or Miami in the regular season. Ooh. So if they beat Pitt this weekend, there's a very high possibility that you do have 3 teams that are undefeated in conference play in the ACC.
Man, just give me all the chaos.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm rooting for chaos because with chaos comes outrage, and outrage means views. 100%. At least, maybe. People hate watch, right?
Oh, yeah.
People are big into the hate watch nowadays, I would imagine.
And especially when something big goes down, getting an opinion out on that is quite
Well, hello there, puppy dog. No context. Well, I mean, just the thoughts on this. We saw this kind of laying out when we saw all these conferences come out with their tie-breaking rules. But did you ever perceive first year into conference realignment that we'd have this many different possibilities?
It's honestly funny that we went to the 12-team playoff system to get rid of this kind of, oh my gosh, all this chaos, and we're now getting chaos before conference championship week even hits. So that's the funny part to me.
Absolutely. Boys, absolute crazy stuff going on in college football. Welcome in. We got a loaded show for you guys today. It is Wednesday. We're going to take a look at What If Wednesday. We're also going to be taking a peek. Love taking a peek. Taking a peek's fun. Who's hurting more after a potential loss? We're going to lay out some scenarios there, have a little bit of fun. Teams that should make the playoffs, should have been the title today. I think it is. Are Power 4 coaches actually going to get shit canned? We'll talk about it tonight. But first and foremost, I want to give a quick shout out to our friends over at Better. If you're looking for a place to make college football props this season, Better is your place to be. Promo code Brooks will now get you a 100% deposit match on up to $250 over there. Again, promo code Brooks. All you got to do over there, guys, is enter more than or less than college football players' key stats. I'm going to try to share my screen over here and get you a play up on the board right about now. Are we good to go on the screen share?
Yeah, give me a second.
Let's go ahead and pull up Better while you're doing that. I'm going to start looking through some of these plays. We're going to make 2 plays for you guys tonight on 2 of the bigger games in college football this weekend. First and foremost, we're going to find that Ohio State and Penn State game starting at noon. We hate noon kickoffs around here, and we do love the anti-Will Howard deep state. We're going to take the less than rushing yards on Will Howard. I like that prop right there. The 227 was a little bit hairy for me in terms of the pass projections right there. Let's go on down to Katron Allen. With the injury report situation going on at the quarterback position over there at Penn State, I'm going to hammer Katron Allen's overs in rushing attempts right now. So for you guys, we're taking 2 rushing totals here. We're going under on Will Howard, betting on some Abdul Carter sacks. Talk to me now. And we're going to go with the over on Katron Allen's rushing totals. We're going to place this entry here. We're going to put it in for $30. Let's go ahead and play that one. Submitting entry. Shout out to those guys over at Better. Again, we're going to be making a play on the local hour as well. We're going to be making a specific Georgia-Florida prediction. Everything okay over there?
About to drop my phone.
Hey, Fumblerooskies can't be having it. Appreciate those guys over at Better. Again, promo code Brooks, as you see on your screen over there before we took that up off. So shout out to those guys. Guys, it's Wednesday. Let's play a little What If.
I love this game.
Or do we have injury reports out?
Not yet, dude. Still nothing.
It'll happen
10
during
minutes
this.
into the hour.
Straight up milling. You guys don't. Nah, that's a deep inside the milling joke. I'm not even going to explain that one.
What if Alabama, Tennessee, and Ole Miss all miss the playoff this year?
That'd be pretty sweet.
Oh, you think it'd be pretty sweet?
Wouldn't complain. 'Cause that just means you got more teams that don't usually make the playoff in the playoff.
That's fair.
Boy, that would be some lost money
Yeah.
in terms of roster value.
I mean, think of it too. Like, I didn't even include Missouri in this.
You didn't? Did you include Ohio State?
No, I just did SEC teams.
I know.
Like,
But if all of those have really, really high roster values,
yeah.
you throw Ohio State, who has the highest roster value in college football, into that mix. Very plausible, by the way. That would be quite a shit show.
Yeah, I mean, Alabama, first-year head coach, like that one's not as big of a deal. But, like, still, Alabama, Tennessee, Ole Miss, and again, like, I didn't even mention Missouri because they've been already axed off the list. I mean, those would be 4 teams from the SEC that going into this year is like, oh, the SEC is going to have 4 teams in the conference playoff or the college football playoff because they're so loaded and they're stacked down. But there's a high possibility where a good chunk of those teams don't even make the playoff this year.
Yeah. What if Texas A&M played their best game against LSU on Saturday? Like, what we saw against LSU was the absolute best you're going to see from an A&M team. Not that they're going to play like shit for the rest of the year, but we saw the peak of Texas A&M on Saturday.
My what if was the other way around. What if this is the Texas A&M football team that we are getting the rest of the year, right? And one thing I've noticed about this football team is that the defense has been consistent throughout. Like, they're immensely talented, but there's a lot of immensely talented rosters in college football. Being able to consistently perform every single week. Have they laid a dud yet defensively? Their loss has come because of offensive inefficiencies.
They gave up a good amount of points to Mississippi State, I think.
I'll double check, but I don't think they've had like a lay down in terms of a performance. I think this Texas A&M football team is legit right about now. But I can understand the hesitations because of what's going on at quarterback, and you don't really know which version of the offense that you're going to get. But I do know for a fact they can run the football and they can play defense. Those are two sustainable factors in the SEC.
Oh, no, certainly. I mean, Texas A&M has played consistent, and I feel like they're getting better on both sides of the football, or at least if they can figure out what they want to do at quarterback and they can just kind of hammer that one down and find some cohesiveness there, then I think they'll be in a better spot. But certainly have been consistent. That's what is required. Do want to say this. Eugene Wilson is out for Saturday against Georgia. The injury reports are not out, but that's already been reported.
I was gonna say
He played last week, though.
Says he's out.
Eugene Wilson played
With
last
what?
week?
Looks like, let me go back to it.
Oh, shit. Do you think Better's got it up yet?
Oh,
Oh my gosh.
this is how you win money.
Devious. That's devious. Speaking of a Florida school, what if Florida State doesn't win another game this year? What if they drop
Go 1-10?
1-11? What if they drop a game to Charleston Southern? What if they lose that one? You go 1-11. Me personally, I think you have to be fired. I think that at that point you have to
1-11?
fire Mike Norvell. You go 1-11, you lose to Charleston Southern while doing so.
I don't know. I think what you did last year, you could kind of sell boosters and people on, hey, this was just a fluky year. Things didn't go our way. Our starting quarterback got injured, missed the season. Like, there's definitely things you can lean into to be like, remember what I did last year for this program? Remember it was before I came here. So, I don't know. I think that you definitely start the season on an extremely short leash in 2025, but I don't know if firing is just
1-11 though?
It's horrible. I agree. But at this point, I think everyone's accepted that this year's kind of a joke anyways. Like, it's almost a comedy of errors every time they take the field. Like, no one's really even – there's not even room for disappointment anymore. I think it would be worse to go 4-8 throughout the season. Is it up?
Shh. Hey, promo code Brooks right now. Over on Better.
What do you think? You think 1-11?
I think 48.5 under just cash. That's what I think. Go ahead.
1-11 though for Mike Norvell. You lose to Charleston Southern to end the year before rivalry week.
Well, the real question is 1-11, is that worth $80 million?
1-11's bad.
It's actually 75% of $84 million, which, quick math, about $68 million, maybe $69 million.
1-11
Nice.
is atrocious.
1-11 is atrocious with really bad recruiting. Not really bad, just not good recruiting coming in. Also, how do you convince an entire portal roster to come back through down there?
I'm just saying, you'd find a hard time naming a single coach right now in college football that if they went 1-11 that they wouldn't be fired. There's a very short list of
In
coaches
Power 4
that could
football,
survive
facts.
that.
In Power 4 football, big time.
Yeah.
The biggest concern, even from like the beginning of the season, was like, oh, this team doesn't fight for him. Like they're not going to bat at all, and that's interesting.
Yeah, and I know the buyout is massive. I'm just saying, 1-11 is putrid. Like
It's
that is
disgusting.
horrifying.
And it's only massive because they extended him last year.
Yeah.
Like, oof. I think nowadays in portal era of college football, maybe we hold off on these extensions for guys who had one blimp on the radar type of season.
It's gotten
Mel Tucker.
I was about to say it's gotten multiple programs. It's happened. I mean, Lance Leipold. I mean, I know he didn't get an extension,
Buddy,
but
you go 8-5 2 years in a row against Kansas, lifetime contract. Give it to them. They failed with Fat Man Gino. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there was some things going on there towards the end. But yeah. We're still on what ifs, and I haven't given you any of mine. What if Miami's defense has another flat clunker this weekend against Duke?
Like a good performance?
No, like just gives up 40 points again. They have to score 52 to win.
I like the way you're talking.
Come on now.
Although I kind of need
Hey,
you
3 out of 5 for the Dukies.
I kind of need you to talk about how good Miami is, though, because you're the only hope I have to curse this team. All right, I'm seeing articles up about
you down.
The injury reports?
yeah, but I'm not seeing it. So
Let me take a gander.
you might have to audible real quick and go in a solo shot while I think.
No, I'm good with that. I'm thinking Duke's got it. The plus 20. Duke getting almost 3 touchdowns in this football game.
I agree. It's a lot of points.
I think that's a lock. I don't like to give locks out on Thursdays or Wednesdays. I normally like to spit them out on Saturday morning over on the tweeter machine. But, I mean, good Lord, 20 points. You're going to be sweating that one out for 4 quarters if you're a Miami fan or if you've got this on the spread. Because I definitely think Duke can score some points with their quarterback situation and everything they got going on offensively. You know they're going to play with a lot of pace. They're going to get a lot of reps at it, and that means Miami's got a lot of opportunities to give up points and give up yardage. I could easily see this football game being like 45-28 type of ball game, and that gets you an easy cover right there if you take these points. So I just think Miami's defense is very, very vulnerable right about now. Already gave up my what if Texas A&M is for real. This team seemingly slept on by Vegas every single week I look up. 2.5 points, that's it. That's disrespectful. I know South Carolina's defense is really, really good, but in my opinion, a tad bit disrespectful. What if for the second straight time this year, Ohio State loses by 1 point on the road? Okay. They lost that Oregon game at Autzen Stadium, 33-32, I think, maybe 32-31. Nonetheless, 32-31. And then you got another top 5 matchup on the road, Penn State, 110,000 people. And what if you lose that one, like maybe not even exactly 1 point, but what if you lose it closely? I wonder how the College Football Playoff Committee will look at this football team, considering the only other ranked opponent on the schedule, I believe, will be Indiana, because by the time they get Michigan, they will not be ranked. So it's a very interesting situation for Ohio State where you might be left out of a playoff discussion at 10-2, with your only losses being to top 5 football teams on the road. I don't think that will be the case. I think if they go 10-2, they probably sneak in, but the rest of the schedule is just not very strong for them, particularly when they're probably going to be matched up in that discussions or in those rooms in terms of discussions with other 10-2 SEC football teams. And we've kind of seen throughout the years how that portrays or how that, falls out for those teams that aren't in the SEC, because they do get the bump. I think it's inevitable. I think anyone listening to this right now believes that, the SEC has always been the premier conference, and when faced head-to-head, a 10-2 team out of the SEC and a 10-2 team out of the Big Ten, most likely, if put head-to-head, teams will deciding factors will probably lean towards the SEC. But I really put this on the what ifs, and I don't know if you guys have seen this, but I do want to bring it to the attention of the audience. I follow a lot of other beat reporters since I've started doing this national topic stuff, because I want to be informed about how other, fan bases or other teams rather are being covered by their beat reporters. So I've gotten to know some guys in the Ohio State beat that I really, really respect. I'm not going to dime them out by name, because what I'm going to say, I wouldn't say not in the middle of a facility. But I'm out on social media today scrolling through the timeline, and I see an Ohio State beat reporting team, 3 guys on the field inside the indoor practice facility, basically talking about how they don't necessarily get good vibes right now around that building. There's not like a sense of urgency. The team's not on the same page with regards to the messaging. That was some of the verbiage that these guys were using. I also saw one guy in that video, and look, this don't mean it's 100% true, but these guys have a pulse on this football team far better than I do, or at least you would imagine, right? These are, quote, boots on the ground reporters. Literally, they're standing inside the indoor. And one of the guys says basically something along the lines of, I get real uneasy at the idea that Will Howard and Caleb Downs seem to be the only people walking around this building that aren't necessarily happy with the way things have gone through the last 2 or 3 football games. A loss to Oregon, a 4-point strugglesome win over Nebraska, all right, in which had Nebraska had any sense of offense in the fourth quarter, they probably win that football game, all right? So I don't love that idea. I don't love the idea that, people walking around the building that have been walking around that building for 10, 15 years are out there going, ooh, I don't necessarily love the way this feels right now around this place. I don't necessarily think that's ideal. My other what if, and this is kind of a macro discussion around college football, particularly with the discussion we kind of fell into a little bit earlier with all these high roster value football teams. But here's the deal, man. When you got a really, really good football team nowadays, that shit cost. That came out of somebody's pocket, bro. All right, somebody bought the right for Caleb Downs to be at Ohio State. Somebody invested in that opportunity. Somebody invested in those seniors coming back at Ohio State this year. Somebody invested in Walter Nolan coming to Ole Miss. Somebody brought Princely Umanmielen out there. How come I can say that, but I can't say Nico's last name? All right, somebody invested in that, all right? And when you go out and you lay duds and you look like poop in the first half against Oklahoma, and you look like poop in the 4 quarters against Nebraska, and you look like you're about to squander a national championship, all right, or at least a national championship contending roster, guess what's 45 days away that you're trying to close on right now, Bubba? National Signing Day. Guess what comes with a cost nowadays, guys? National Signing Day. So I'm curious if those boosters that might have been buying some of these rosters, or at least investing in some of these high-value rosters, might be looking at their head coach like, nah, dog, you ain't getting my money this round. And that might impact some of these things going forward, because used to, man, when you didn't meet up to expectations, when you didn't win like boosters thought you might win, guess what you lost? You lost the facilities race. Your endowment for your new fancy locker room with hot tubs and cold tubs just got depleted. Not your roster. Nowadays, your roster's taking L's every time you do, and your ability to go out and buy better players is taking L's every single time you do. So I'm curious, man, like with guys like Lane Kiffin, Eli Drinkowitz, maybe Ryan Day this weekend to a lesser extent, is there going to be some donor fatigue on top of the fact that for 3 years now you've been calling these guys asking for better players?
And that's the thing that you're going to see is it's kind of a weird cycle where coaches get more money, they don't necessarily succeed, and their argument is, well, we need more money, we need more funds. You are going to see donor fatigue in that, but the problem is you get donor fatigue and it goes right back to, well, we're underpaid right now. We don't have enough funds to get the rosters we need to compete with these teams, and then it turns into, well, you get the roster, you don't succeed with them, you lose money. So it's kind of this ever-ending circle.
Never-ending circle.
That's what I said, didn't I?
I think you said ever-ending circle.
I forgot the end.
Thoughts? What ifs? What else you got for me?
What if Texas A&M loses this weekend? Because I think that could be like a worst case scenario.
You guys sleeping on the Aggies. Is this
No.
because I did a film study this week? Are y'all fading the film guy now?
No, I'm just saying
saying
this is why I asked, is because I think that would be a worst case scenario for a lot of SEC teams. Because then you're adding another 2-loss team into the mix of the SEC, and when you keep on adding more teams onto that list, that means there's a higher probability that you, as a 2-loss team, has a higher probability of you not making it as well. Because I think that Texas A&M as a 2-loss, depending on who the loss is to, like if they just lose to Texas in the last week of the season, that's a pretty good looking 2-loss season in my opinion. Especially if Notre Dame continues to win out and they're going to end up being a playoff team.
Yeah, it is interesting because Texas A&M is one of the
freezing cold take us making fun of 24/7 for all their 10-2s.
Yeah, that's starting to age poorly.
We'll see.
I mean, they did have 8 SEC teams going 10-2. I think that was a bit much.
There's a lot.
Go ahead.
But no, I'm just saying that is something where Texas A&M, you'd have to imagine, would take precedence over an Alabama right now, or a Ole Miss, even teams like that are kind of like, well, we don't necessarily control our own destiny, but we could still sneak in the back door of the playoffs.
It's important to control your own destiny. That's for dang sure.
For sure. We've seen that a couple of times play out. So
I did see a first on the injury report this time. Texas A&M has a player that is a wide receiver that is out for just the first half.
Yeah, that's Dan Jackson and Janelle Aguero were also listed on the injury report.
Is it a targeting related?
It's a wide receiver, though.
Did he get a
He
targeting,
had a targeting rule?
I don't know, I guess. I don't recall one last week, though, of a Texas A&M wide receiver getting targeting.
That's interesting.
Maybe got in a fight.
Good Lord, it's a long injury report.
Oh,
for
yeah,
Florida.
that's what took us.
Go look at Kentucky's.
Are they tapping out?
Oh, dude,
We
there's
got guys tapping helmets.
there's like 15 names on that thing.
It's an interesting discussion in terms of like nowadays, in the NFL, come week 8, week 9, week 12, week 15, when NFL teams start, obviously making plans for Cancun, you see a lot of guys mysterically or mystically pull a hamstring, or
Good phantom injury.
Yeah, little. I got a bag year coming up, that type of deal. I wonder if we're gonna see any of this in college football, where guys like, Coach Hammy's feeling a little tight this week.
We've seen it before,
and it's gonna be tight next week.
We've seen it before.
He got targeting on a block apparently in the game. I
Love
missed
that.
Go
Softening of the game.
Go watch that Jadeveon Clowney 2013 season.
Oh yeah, he cashed
There
out
were
the whole
there were
time.
a bunch of Jadeveon Clowney's battling rib soreness this week. He's not going to play in the second half, or fatigue, flu-like symptoms. Jadeveon Clowney had such a monster?
He set out for flu-like symptoms.
I remember. I feel like one of those he sat out for. I mean, he had a 2012 season where he was pretty much signed stamped the first round pick, like number 1 overall pick. He didn't have to do anything in 2013.
No.
But guess what? Still played in the bowl game.
Bro, he jumped over those bags that one time. Do y'all remember that? That was the first Anthony Richardson hit the roof moment. They set they were doing the wave drill on the hand shields or whatever. And then at the end of his pro day workout, Jadeveon Clowney jumped over all of them in a broad jump fashion and jumped like 12 feet. And everybody's like, oh my God, I've never seen anything like this. Got to draft him over Reggie Bush. Actually turned out to be a good decision.
Over Reggie Bush?
Do you not remember Reggie Bush's NFL career?
Jadeveon Clowney and Reggie Bush in the same draft class?
Jadeveon Clowney went 1. Oh, no. The edge rusher out of NC State went 1. You're right. I'm sorry. I'm an idiot. What was his name?
I don't remember, but Jadeveon Clowney was like 10 years after
You're right.
Reggie
You're
Bush.
right. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Different edge rusher that went 1 over somebody that shouldn't have gone 1. Any other what ifs?
I didn't go through a bunch of my what ifs. What if Penn State actually does it on Saturday? What if Penn State beats Ohio State? One, what does that do for James Franklin and this team? moving
Mario
forward?
Williams.
Ah.
Still think probably a good decision.
He was pretty
with
solid,
hindsight. Yeah. Probably a little bit longer and more impactful career than Reggie in the NFL.
I would say so. The plight of
Continue.
the running back. What if Penn State does it this Saturday? One, what does that do for James Franklin? Two, what does that do for Ryan Day?
Puts Penn State in a fantastic spot to go undefeated this regular season and have a spot in the conference championship. And you are going dancing, the Nittany Lions. You finally did it. Expanded playoff was all you need. That's all you needed.
Anyways.
Yeah, they're certainly in a good spot regardless. Even if they don't win on Saturday, they're still sitting in a good spot.
That Big Ten slate, man. They got the right draw. They got the Missouri draw of the Big Ten.
Just don't get blown out this weekend.
I
don't know, man.
21 points, 11-1, they're in.
You think so?
Yeah, it's an 11-1 Power 4 football team.
11-1.
There's only going to be so many of them.
But what if you're 11-1, you got blown out against Ohio State, and then also you have another close call against a team you probably shouldn't have down the stretch. So that'd be
You mean like Bowling Green?
Yeah, I was gonna say. So then you have a close call against Bowling Green. You got blown out by what your only worthy opponent essentially, and then later on down in the season, you have another close call with a team you probably should have handled. May not be the prettiest 11-1. It's still probably in, but it certainly creates a discussion around it.
They're in. They're already in. We gotta consistently be consistent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We gotta consistently be consistent. And preseason, we said get undefeated to the Ohio State matchup, and it don't matter. You're in. They've handled what they need to handle in a 12-team playoff because of the Big Ten slate this year for them. So, congrats, James Franklin.
Okay, so we'll keep going on this. What if Ohio State Ohio State wins Saturday? They're 11-1. They're in the conference championship. Oregon goes undefeated, and then also Indiana is a one-loss team at the end of the year.
They're taking Penn State.
That's so much to think about, dude.
They're
Holy
taking
shit.
Penn State.
Okay.
What if
And Cignetti's going to burn it down. Go ahead.
He should.
What if Clemson absolutely dismantles Louisville? We're kind of treating this Louisville game as, hey, this is Clemson's last real test before South Carolina. What if they pass it with flying colors and they just turn in 7 or 8 weeks of straight, consistent, great offense, looks like a really, really good team? Because everyone wrote them off after the Georgia game, understandably so. That was an ugly loss for them. But since then, they've been a really, really good team. What if they beat the shit out of Louisville this week?
I would say that's them doing. It would continue to solidify what people are believing in Clemson right now. Of this team has completely turned a corner since week 1. They got things figured out on offense. Kay Klubnik is playing really good football, and he has that team moving in the right direction. And they are a competitive team now to the point where they would be a contender coming out of the ACC. Because if they dismantle a team like Louisville, a team that Miami just had to squeak by, then Clemson is looking a heck of a lot better, even with the one loss to Georgia. Despite you only scored 3 points against Georgia, you're doing things that even your top team in the ACC right now is not doing. So it only makes you look even better, and it's solidifying this stance of Clemson is a threat.
Shallst we take a peek, my boys?
Let's do it.
Hey, make sure you're hitting that thumbs up button, like, subscribe, rate, review, and all that good stuff. By the way, I say like, subscribe, rate, and review, right? Like and subscribe here on YouTube, rate and review, however, wherever you get your podcasts. We are made available on all your podcast platforms. We've had a little bit of technical difficulty on that lately, but I think we're cleaning that up on a nightly basis, even when we have technical difficulties on that. So shout out to Jay Will. Shout out to you guys for listening as well. All right, let's take a peek. If you think I'm going to miss the opportunity for Diego Pavia to embarrass Hugh Freeze at Auburn, you just don't know me. You just don't know me.
I'm saying +7 kind of tasty for victory.
Kind of tasty. I know Pavia a little bit banged up right now, but the offensive system ain't.
That's all right. He plays better.
He a dog.
He plays better when he's hurt.
Go ahead, count him out. I dare you.
Dare you.
I dare you. What you guys taking a peek at this week?
I'm taking a peek at Ole Miss versus Arkansas.
Might take a stare at that one.
A stare?
That might be. Yeah. That might be.
I might be taking a stare at
That might be
one.
going on.
I don't know if
TV
it's going
one.
to be a stare for me.
shit, I'm
It's going to be a stare third quarter.
Yeah, you know what? That might be it. I'm probably taking a peek first half. Like, all right, what kind of Arkansas team are we getting today? Are we getting the Arkansas team that's going to fight for 4 quarters, make this a close game, and be competitive against Ole Miss? Maybe even hang 52 like they did last week or 50 plus? Or is Ole Miss kind of getting back to what people thought they were going to be and they're just going to dominate? So might be a second half stare down if it's in the right spot, but first half taking a peek.
I might stare at it just to see if Lane Kiffin can get his dudes to fight. I think it's an important week last week we saw them kind of drag their ass the first 3 quarters. And then, we got to go win this football game. They found a way to do it, but I'm curious if they lay an egg to start this one on the road, you're going to be in deep trouble.
Yeah.
Up there at Arkansas. Let's see here.
I got one.
Go ahead.
I'm taking a peek at the troops playing a game. Army versus Air Force. Army's been beaten, dubbing up the Citizens.
You a lie.
I'm taking a peek, bro.
You a lie.
I'm supporting the troops.
You
man.
watching 1-6 Air Force
Yes,
versus undefeated Navy or Army?
I'm going to take a peek. I'm not going to watch it all the way
Sir.
through. But I want to see what these troops are doing. Some troop-on-troop crime. We haven't seen enough of that this year.
What do you call it? False valor?
Stolen valor.
Stolen valor. False valor.
The irony.
False valor over here.
Stolen
Claiming
valor.
that he's going to do it. You didn't steal it because you never had it. False valor right here. You don't actually believe that.
I'm going to be watching Army and Air Force at some point this week.
I'm going to be tapping your phone to see if you're actually on it.
You don't know how to tap a phone.
What you taking a peek at, Jonathan? Don't try me, man. Don't try me. I got resources. I got a guy for everything. It's important to have guys. You got to have a guy for everything. I got a suit guy. I got a shoe guy. I got a phone tap guy.
Right.
I got a source guy. We got all kind of guys.
I'm taking a peek at Tennessee and Kentucky for multiple reasons. Kentucky, I don't know what happened, but this team has just kind of dissipated a little bit. They have, because from what the Kentucky team that I watched play against Florida did not look like the Kentucky team at the beginning of the season where they were giving fights to Ole Miss. They were giving fights to Georgia. They were doing all the right things. And now I feel like they've kind of done the inverse and they just kind of declined as the season has progressed. And then also I'm taking a peek because Tennessee is going to remain on this list for me because I'm going to continue to watch this offense. I'm going to see if they evolve at all. I'm going to see if they figure anything out with the deep shots, if Nico can find his groove there. He's a talented quarterback. So me personally, I want to feel like he is going to eventually figure it out this season at some point. But the defense remains good enough for Tennessee regardless. So if they can figure out it offensively, get some help for Dylan Sampson, they'll be in a good spot.
Should I finally be taking a peek at Iowa State?
It's on my list.
I mean, Texas Tech can at least score some points. Texas Tech got 2 Big 12 losses this year. I think they've scored 35 plus in both of them. Should be interesting. Still might not watch.
They're on mine just because I guess I'm going to continue to see if you are legit Iowa State.
I think I might just keep box score scouting you.
Yeah. Don't think you're ever going to be a 4-quarter watch for me, but I'll check out the ESPN app.
Now, what I do know about Iowa State over the years is that they play a lot of zone defense out of a 3-3-5, and they got nothing but big thickums playing linebacker. Big thickums. Bro, the middle of the field for them is like their safeties are 230. They want the middle of the field, and everybody plays zone. They just want to be as big and as long and as physical as they can humanly possibly be at those positions. Big thickums.
I'm going to be watching who's the shittiest team in the ACC Bowl between UNC and Florida
Little trash
State.
bowl?
Trash Bowl.
I got Trash Bowl 2.0 coming on mine.
Ooh, Trash Bowl 2.0.
I ain't going to lie, though. UNC -2.5. I kind of like it.
I also think that you just have to watch 3 minutes of every UNC game just for the uniforms.
That's a you thing.
Because they are the best uniforms in college
They're
football.
crisp, man. Come
I'll
on
die
now.
on. Dude, did you see the ones they played last week? They wore last week? Ooh.
I'll be taking a look at Tulsa at UAB. Trash Bowl 2.0. But I've got to figure out how in the hell UAB is favored in this football game. How bad must Tulsa be?
UAB's favored?
UAB's favored
Favored?
in this football game.
All right.
UAB, the Blazers, who ain't played a decent half of football in the last 6 weeks, are favored in this football game. And I've got to find out why. Because Tulsa must just be out there playing with a bunch of band members. Because, my Lord.
They did lose 7-49 to Army.
Love that.
They beat UTSA. UTSA, really bad football team.
This is
though.
UAB?
This is Tulsa.
Okay, love this.
Because I'm trying to figure out like how bad has Tulsa been. They lost 10-20 to Temple. They lost 20-52 to North Texas.
Oh.
Hey, they beat La Tech though. They put up 10 against Oklahoma State. They lost to Arkansas State, but they won 62-28 to Northwestern State.
That might be a lock. I don't know. Last time I tried to fade UAB, they showed up and actually did something, so I don't know about that. Any other peekins? I got one more.
No, that's it for me.
I'm taking a peek at UTSA hosting Memphis. The only reason, all right, UTSA's head football coach went viral this week during his media availability because he basically called out the market inefficiencies right now, particularly in the mid-major markets. There is one mid-major team that has arguably a NIL budget the likes of like a mid-tier ACC roster right about now. Do you know who it is? It's Memphis. Do you know why it's Memphis?
No.
That FedEx money, baby. You should know this, Falcons fan. Arthur Smith.
He's been erased from my memory for eternity.
He should be. Memphis got that FedEx money. They got $20 million over 4 years for their football program. That's it. So it's just like you get $5 million a year to go out and buy the players that you want. Ironically enough, they're 7-1 this year. Kind of works like that.
There you go.
UTSA, a football team that I think won that conference last year.
I believe so.
Won that conference last year. Their entire roster got pillaged by the transfer portal. Okay. Now I think they're 1-8 or 1-7, maybe 2-5, something like that. Not going good for UTSA, and that head coach had something to say about it. So I'll be taking a peek just for the intrigue.
Is there a college football team that UPS backs? Because that would be a pretty awesome trade war or an arms race that we get going in college football.
Let's take a Google.
What can Brown do for you?
It's an odd slogan. What can Brown do for you?
Yeah, it usually stinks for me.
Just so low rate. Such low rate comedy. You got anything on that Google search for me?
Yeah, no. Apparently, if you look up UPS college football, there's a team that is UPS, and I've never even heard of it. I don't even know what division they play in.
University of Pikeville Southern.
Yeah, no, it's University of
Pikeville. Pikeville.
They said
Pikeville. No.
University of Puget Sound.
It's pretty close.
Pikeville and Puget.
They're the loggers.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Kind of like the logo, not going to lie.
It goes hard?
Yeah.
What is it, a log?
It's got an axe.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, dude, listen to these teams that UPS has played. Lewis and Clark, Southwestern University.
No.
Laverne.
No.
George Fox, Whitworth, Linfield.
They're just playing historical figures.
Division III.
Is there James Madison in there too, ironically?
They rank 210th in Division III football right now.
So what's been funny is watching – we have two different audiences, right? We have people who only watch film, and we have people that watch film and live shows. And I love watching guys like my man Drew Rowell, I think is who it is. I saw him pop up in the comments on a film study. And obviously, he got the notification that we were live tonight, having just subscribed. And he shows up into this live show. And it's a totally different vibe than what we got going on during the film study. And he's like, what in the hell is this show? Exactly. Those are the vibes we're going for. What is this?
Stick around and
find out. We done with taking a peek?
Mm-hmm.
Not much left to peek at. Who's hurting more? This is something I put in the show notes today. I thought this would be a little fun. Prime example. Who's hurting more after a loss this weekend? Ryan Day or James Franklin? And why?
It's Ryan Day.
Interesting.
It's Ryan Day because
James Franklin's 5-10 against Michigan and Ohio State.
That's fine, but I would say they've already exceeded expectations to some degree at some point of this year. I mean, if I sat down and told you guys that they would be undefeated at this point in the season, you'd have said no, they won't. The fact that they're here is great for James Franklin. Now, it doesn't bode well for you that Here comes the big challenge and James Franklin can't go over the hump again. Yeah, I get that. But Ryan Day really handpicked this roster, and this is kind of the chips all in type of roster for him. So much so that you had Urban Meyer saying this is the best roster I've ever seen assembled in 15 years. If you lose 2 regular season games, when people are already kind of have their doubts about you, big game Ryan Day, this could be disastrous for you. You could find yourself on the hot seat because of this. James Franklin is nowhere near the hot seat now.
Yeah, he's already in the playoff.
Mm-hmm.
According to some, yeah.
According to this guy. Go ahead.
I think that Ryan, because here's my kind of stance on it of if Penn State loses this football game, it's just typical Penn State, typical James Franklin, like almost expected to a certain extent. Ryan Day loses this one, that program is hurting. You have 2 losses now. You were picked to be the best roster in college football this year. You went out and spent all this money to make sure that you almost felt like a lock to get into the national title game. Then you go ahead and lose 2 games before the regular season is out, and you lose to a team that you haven't lost to since 2016. You're certainly hurting more, in my opinion, as opposed to if you're Penn State.
All right, I'm going to address some super subs here. My man Bennett Spear donated $20 for a new iPad.
We're getting there.
We're getting there.
Need about 15 more of those.
And J. Will Howard said, hi, J. Will. God makes one take. If we learned anything about that, it's the fact that the anti-Will Howard deep state runs strong.
Man.
Runs real
I didn't even make
strong.
my stance with Will Howard, guys.
No, you said you believed in him.
No.
You said he's the best quarterback in that game.
I've been the most pro Will Howard guy on this show, and I don't even think I'd believe in him.
I said I trust Ryan Day more than I do James Franklin. Not a crazy statement, I didn't think.
That's not. Look, I'm here with you, Jay Will.
Thank you.
This side of the room is with you.
It's one of those things where if the nickname fits, it doesn't matter if the storyline matches, right?
Well, I'm honored.
J. Will Howard rolls right off.
I'm honored. I'm part of
far better than La Familia. Far better.
You said it right though.
I did, nailed it. I've been practicing in the mirror. Not really.
That's sad.
Yeah.
Who's hurting more? Mark Stoops blown out by Tennessee, or Billy Napier blown out by Georgia?
This is
right?
really good.
Right?
I mean, I think this is the first.
By the way, both teams underdogs by 14.5 points at least.
Mm-hmm. It's weird because Mark Stoops is one of those guys where it's like he's the best coach. He's the best Kentucky's ever gonna have. Why would you ever get rid of him? And this season, more than ever, it feels like people are kind of turning their heads and like, what is Mark Stoops doing this year? That said, Billy Napier started this year on the hot seat. Pretty much, essentially, people thought he was a dead man walking, and it's going into a Georgia game that you would have to expect Georgia's probably going to handle this game pretty much. I don't know if that bodes better for him to where if you come out of a 20-point loss, people are going to say, hey, we kind of saw this happening. I kind of want to lean Mark Stoops here because Florida and Billy Napier getting crushed by the number 2 team, one of the best teams in college football, is kind of a given. Mark Stoops showing some potential against Georgia and Ole Miss and then turning around and putting it together the last few strings of games he's had, I think getting blown out by Tennessee will be worse.
I have bad news for Kentucky because I just went back and looked at their history with Tennessee. They're an every other year team versus Tennessee. One year they play them close. The next year they get blown out.
Is that a little home-away split?
Yeah.
Because that checks out for Kentucky.
Yeah.
So Kentucky be doing to Tennessee what they be doing to Georgia?
Yes, exactly.
Just playing them tight at home, getting their ass beat on the road?
So last year they only lost by 6 to Tennessee at home. So this year it's seeming like Tennessee might blow them out on Saturday. And again, I kind of aligned this take with the one I just gave of Billy Napier getting blown out by Georgia. I think a lot of people are expecting that one. But the moment that Mark Stoops and Kentucky looks uncompetitive, and that's kind of how they have looked the last few games, that's just not a good look for you. That's not what Kentucky fans want.
That defense, too, just like watching them on film against Florida, the amount of times I saw veteran football players do things that veteran football players shouldn't do in terms of eye discipline is just really, really weird.
It looked like a bunch of guys that are just trying to do too much.
No, it looked like a bunch of individuals to me.
Yeah.
That's what it looked like. It looked like 11 guys playing for each individual self, not playing together, and that's bad defense.
Yeah, it is.
Whereas you watch them in that Georgia matchup, dude, they're keyed. They are dialed in for that one. All right, who's in a worse situation? Hugh Freeze losing to Vandy this weekend or Dave Aranda losing to TCU?
Hugh Freeze
Dave
losing to
Aranda.
I don't know,
Bring
dude.
it back in, baby.
You know what? The stank on that Vandy L don't smell as bad.
No,
as
it
No,
doesn't.
not at all.
No, it doesn't, but it's still a team you're more talented than. You should beat Vanderbilt if you're Auburn. Now, I get it. It's not the Vandy of old. It's not the punching bag of the SEC. They're scrappy now, but I think just by proxy of how much attention Hugh Freeze has brought to his program and himself this year, I mean, the consistency to just throw Peyton Thorne under the bus or whoever your quarterback is and to throw your roster in the bus and say, we're calling the right plays, our guys just aren't executing them. You've kind of drawn more eyes to this season. Dave Aranda, they're not having a great year, but it's kind of gone under the radar. So, I mean, if you lose to Vanderbilt as Hugh Freeze, people are going to go to Twitter, can't wait to hear the excuses he makes this time.
I've seen a lot of good quotes that make me laugh from Hugh Freeze. The one he delivered last week in the midst of a flu battle was my favorite. You know what? I've decided I'm coaching these guys hard. I'm gonna start doing my job. I'm going to coach them hard. Love that. Love that. This is a special note. Every once in a while when I'm looking for these topics, I have to select certain conferences. And looking for that Aranda matchup against TCU, I was in the Big 12 conference, to which I stumble upon this. Guys, did you know that Buddy from San Jose State is a touchdown dog to a 3-5 UCF team with a preseason top 25 team himself?
Hey.
Yeah, this is what happens. You athletic directors out there listening to this show, don't just hire guys because you got relationships with them. Okay, so when a dude's best season is a undefeated COVID season at San Jose State and then doesn't have more than an 8-win season ever at San Jose State, you probably shouldn't hire that guy for a P4 job and replace Jed Fish with him. Just letting you know. Buddy from San Jose State taking L's, man.
Tough scene.
All right. Teams that should make the playoff, boys. So here's how this is going down. We have a lock situation going on. So you do not put this team into the conversation unless you 100% believe they will be in the college football playoff. Number one for me, Oregon. Any disagreements?
Not at all.
I think the other two that are safest for me in this order, Miami and Clemson.
Yeah, Clemson.
The only thing that keeps me out of this with Clemson is the South Carolina matchup. They could easily lose that football game with how good that defense is. So that scares me a little bit.
And then at that point, you can't afford a loss in the conference.
No, you have to win.
If you get there.
Yeah.
Because if SMU goes undefeated in conference play, that doesn't even matter. Well, yeah, because that's not a conference game.
Yeah, Miami's going to make the playoff.
All right, so y'all kind of push back on Clemson. How about Georgia?
They should.
I have Georgia on this list for me because they're going to be favored in every single matchup down the stretch. So you should win the remainder of your games, and you're in a good position to where even if you were to drop one to Tennessee or even one to Ole Miss, your 10-2 is you're a desirable 10-2 selection. But like I said earlier, if you get too many 10-2 teams into this mix from the SEC, it's a place you don't want to be at all.
The only reason I would say that I'm 99% sure this is Georgia's a playoff team. Tennessee and Ole Miss on the road could present issues. I think they win both of those games, but
you get Tennessee at home, and I know you meant that.
Right.
But the
Tennessee,
audience hearing that might have thought you thought both of those were on the road.
Tennessee and then Ole Miss on the road.
Correct.
Could present
I heard the
issues.
comma. I don't know if they did. That's what I was trying.
Appreciate it. Thanks for looking out.
Yeah, no doubt.
So yeah, that's the only thing that's hinging me on that. But Georgia should be a playoff team.
We got to talk in the break because I was trying to hammer a bit, and I think we missed it. Who do you have another lock for me? Because I got Penn State in
I
this.
definitely do. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I have.
I'm going to explain it.
I have Texas on my list
Mm-hmm.
because the schedule, the remainder of your schedule is so easy. Outside of Texas A&M, that's your final game of the season. So I think they're in a good spot. Again, I think that this is a team that even if you handle business the rest of the way, if you win out, you do what you're supposed to. Even if you were to lose to Texas A&M, you keep it close. You would be one of those 10-2 teams that would be in serious discussion of having a playoff spot. So that's why I have them on my list. But even then, like I said earlier for the SEC, it's just.
How about a 10-2 Texas A&M?
Gosh.
What does LSU do the rest of the season? If they lose to
They beat Bama.
Maybe.
It's going to be interesting. We're gonna have somebody get pissed off.
I would
I
say,
hope it's the loudest fan base, to be honest with you. I want to see some temper tantrums a la Florida State last year. That's what I want to see.
You know
I wanna
what?
see some buildings burn
just because you said that,
that are empty. They've been there for a while. They need to get rid of.
This
They
man
would
is-
demolish
this
them
man's
anyways.
inciting vandalism.
Yeah,
right
no,
now.
no. They would demolish them anyways, but instead we're going to torch them.
Just because you said that, I hope it's Texas A&M, just so we can get a midnight yell of them complaining about the college football
Well,
playoff.
do they do that? Do they convene for midnight?
No,
yell
no,
after they
stop.
lose?
This gives me my opportunity to impersonate Texas A&M yell guys. I'm a yell guy. My dad hates me.
Oh,
Back to you.
Pretty solid.
dude, we need to get overalls for you to start doing that. Dude, that needs to be your Halloween costume. Forget Frozen, dude. We're calling an audible on
I think I'd get stoned around here. Literally, they throw rocks at me, not the other kind. Just thought that needed clarification.
Honestly, yeah. Fair enough.
Checks out.
What about some of these Big 12 teams or a group of? I mean, there's going to be one of them in there. Is there anyone?
Yeah, I just don't know who. That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying.
I feel
you
like
could put BYU in here, but BYU is I think a 2-point favorite this week. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like they're not easy to
People
run
are
through.
not sold on them at all.
Oh, I thought you were going to say people are not sold on my Yale guy impersonation.
I don't think they were either. You getting called cringe?
That's fine. They are cringe.
Tough watch.
That means their impersonation was
that's
dead
good.
on.
That's good
Yeah.
acting.
That's
actually-
good acting.
If you hate the character, that means the actor's doing a good job.
So
Can
yeah,
we put Boise in this list of they should be a playoff team?
they don't have another P4 team on the schedule, right?
I don't believe so.
Yeah,
I'm
I don't
getting-
think so either.
I'm getting froze in the notes. I don't see a frozen stream on my end.
No, yeah, everything's good on here.
All right, so maybe it's just those folks.
Yeah, at Boise State, you have, like I said, the fact that you played Oregon close at the beginning of the year, I was like, you just set yourself up for cash in on this moment because you are what seems like a lock for this group of 5 bid in the playoff. And as I mentioned earlier in the year, they're even in a position where they might not even be the 12 seed. They could end up being the 10 seed or something like that, depending on how the rest of the college football season goes.
They said froze because I said frozen for Halloween.
Oh, foreshadowing.
Brooks is going as.
Hey, I said foreshadowing.
Are you going to do that on air?
I mean, yeah, I'm gonna wear a costume tomorrow because I'm gonna come right down from trick or treating. By the way, tomorrow is Q&A only. I'm gonna give the boys the night off, so you can get into some debaucherous behavior.
Nah.
I'm going to load up some awesome questions.
Too old for
you.
Halloween.
I'm thinking maybe paintball gun on top of the roof, and whichever kid takes more than one, light them up.
That's pretty good.
I like it.
That's a good idea.
I like it.
Dressed in all black.
Brooks Austin, inciting violence and shooting kids.
Tagline. Crazy work.
I heard that there's a dude shooting a paintball gun and people are stoning each other in their traditions.
Get biblical, man.
Are there any Power 4 coaches that are actually going to be fired this year?
Dude,
I've only got two.
Someone's going to.
I've only got two.
someone has to be, but I can't for the life of me think of yeah, he's cooked at this point.
Mac Brown's definitely going to get asked to retire, right?
Yeah, Mac Brown will. Hey, Mac,
It's time to go.
Let's call it a day.
Appreciate that 9-win season or whatever it was.
Yeah,
I think they're 8-5.
appreciate-
Competitive 8-5.
Appreciate people saying you were going to be a top 4 playoff team one year and then immediately losing to Virginia on a Thursday.
Dave Aranda's slick fighting for his job and doing so
He's
competitively.
been fighting for
He's
that
fighting.
job.
Yeah.
Boys fighting.
He's been
at least
fighting for a
scrapping.
minute. And you know what? Good on you, Dave Aranda. I was out on you last year, so you made it this far.
I did some research on this because I want to know who were the hot seat coaches going into the season. Billy Napier, obviously, on the list.
Cooled it.
Ryan Day was on this list.
Yeah, it's just
never,
Blasphemous.
Yeah,
never
it's
bought
just
that
crazy.
one. Clark Lee.
Attaboy
That-
Clark.
That seat's frozen now. Give that man a lifetime contract. You beat Bama, you're there forever. They'll build you a damn statue. Sam Pittman.
Keep fighting. Keep fighting.
Sam Pittman showed a lot of fight this year.
larger hog in the backyard this year for Sam.
That's right. Hey, you know what we say about the Hogs. Lincoln Riley could be on that list. I mean,
He certainly has not removed himself from that
No.
list.
No.
No.
It's probably only gotten a little bit warmer.
Scott Satterfield.
Where's he even at? Hold on. Don't tell me. Tell me.
Cincy.
Ah, yeah. No, he's cooled it.
Yeah, they did. I
Yeah,
mean,
they're
He was only on there because of the terrible, terrible year one in the Big 12.
yeah.
But he's cleaned it up.
And then the last one was Dave Aranda, which we talked about. Which
Okay.
Dave Aranda might be the one on this list. But I mean, the hot seat has not been that hot this year. We're going into week 10, and none of these guys have really been like. I mean, we're at the point now where Billy Napier is not even quote unquote hanging on by a thread. Like, at least the team's showing fight. At least they're winning the games they should be winning.
He's still very fireable because of what's going on in the recruiting circuit
That's
right now.
fair.
As is like Sam's cooled things off. Don't get me wrong. They're competitive. They're fun. They're fighting in the SEC week to week. But he's still got to play Ole Miss, Texas, and Missouri 3 out of the next 4 weeks. So it's not like easy sailing. Now, he's got a game against a version of UMass in the mix there, so he's going to get bowl eligible. And I don't think anybody expected them to be 5-3 at this point in the season. So maybe he has protected his job.
I'm going to bring this name up because someone in the chat brought it up. And I'm going to – because I have Shane Beamer for South Carolina.
Yeah, he wasn't on this list.
South Carolina's administration at one point is just going to have to jump off the cliff because this is what I mean by that. Shane Beamer is doing exactly what he does every single season, where going into a year, it's like, things are kind of looking glim for South Carolina. Looks like it might be the year where Shane kind of pushes himself out the door. This might be the year they might have to get rid of him. But then his team shows fight throughout the entire year. They play good teams close. And then there's intriguing things happening on the recruiting trail. And everything by the end of the year always seems like, well, maybe they turn the corner by the time next year rolls around. And that's how every single season has led up into. But this year, he still is not guaranteed to make a bowl game. So that'd be 2 years straight where he doesn't make a bowl game. So that certainly doesn't help his case. But I'm just saying he's doing what he always does. So what I mean by they're just going to have to jump off the cliff is eventually you're just going to have to eat the words and say, this is the year that we're doing it. No matter what, we just got to pull the trigger.
Boys, you want to know what the Marky Stoops buyout is right now?
What is it?
Take a guess.
Well, it got increased, right?
Well, yeah, you got a contract extension last
Because
year
of
they flirted with Texas.
Yes.
I'm going to say 50.
That's a good guess. A little bit lower. They owe him $44 million if they fired him today. And guess what? Here's the interesting part. The buyout decreases by $500,000 each year after June 30th until the contract ends. So I don't know how that works. They just gave him a pile of money in the buyout, because normally this is like a percentage of contract left owed or whatever. It's an interesting buyout. It's a lot of money.
At this point, like, is it not just, dude, just find an offensive coordinator that you can keep on staff for more than 3 seasons?
Yeah, but every time they have success there, they head to the NFL. Or just, like, stop recruiting NFL coordinators because they're only coming to college because they want to get up out of there.
Yeah,
and get
like,
back to the NFL.
find a guy who you can make sure, like, will be on your roster for 3 years at least and is not going to, hey, we had a good season, I'm going to go back to the NFL now. Like, I understand that Kentucky's not a super luxurious job if you're a coordinator. Like, it's definitely a stepping job.
You don't want to live in Lexington.
No.
You've never been. No, you went last year, right?
I did not.
Oh, you didn't? You've been to Lexington.
Twice.
Thoughts on Lexington?
Not bad. Not my favorite, but not bad.
I think a lot of programs fail to build sites on campus.
Yeah.
It doesn't. That stadium feels like a pro stadium.
There's only one thing, and it's rightfully so. There's only one thing on that campus where you walk around and you're like, whoa. It's Rupp Arena.
Yeah.
That's the only thing on that campus where when you walk up on it, it's like, holy cow, that's nice. Like, that's really cool. Outside of that, it's all right. Just, like I said, it's just okay.
All right. For those folks who are new to this network, first of all, turn your audio down just a bit and get ready.
No, I fixed it a little bit.
You did?
I tweaked it. So give me a shot here.
Hell
Trust me. Put
Matter
some
of fact,
trust in me.
leave it blaring.
Yeah.
Here
Put
comes
that sucker
that.
full
Turn it up.
blast.
Here comes that Diddy counter, ladies and gentlemen. All right, let's shut up and let's grind. That guy really doesn't bust very much. We're asking our 6'7", 210-pound soaking wet tight end to go out here and dig out a 6'6", 260-pound defensive end. Wait, if that guy comes, he's mine. I'm hot off him. He likes it to the backside, does this coordinator, doesn't he? He likes it to the backside, so he flipped it and tried to come back on this side. Well, if that guy comes, we're hot off him. Right here, gets licked. All right, there's a reason that these holes start to open themselves up. I don't know who busted, but somebody did. But it doesn't matter. And here's the finish. Look at the finish right here. Big boys. Of getting hands on that second receiver and really riding him out. Welcome into Talk the Dog, the show where we find a bone to pick and a take to give. These are not hot takes. These is dog takes. Can I talk that dog?
Let's shut up and grind some tape.
Intro to Kickstart My Heart.
Oh, stay
That's a
away.
great one.
Just the intro.
That's just the first riff.
Yeah. I think that's what I'd pick.
That's a great one.
We were talking walkout songs during the break. I'm a Rock of Ages guy by Def Leppard. What would you decide
I
on?
don't know, dude. Do you know the drummer for Def Leppard only has one arm?
Checks out. Who would you go out? Who would you come out to? Lil T Swizzle?
Damn, J-Lo, I would not let him disrespect you.
That's on me, bro. That's on me, bro. That's on me. Welcome into our local hour. We've got a loaded one for you. Final score predictions on this Georgia-Florida matchup. We do have some news on this matchup as well that we're going to open the local hour with. Top 5 Georgia-Florida players in the Kirby Smart era. Almost said the CKS era. In the Kirby Smart era, we're going to set the props and make a better play in the local hour tonight. And I also did a film review on Florida's defense. We're going to be giving you the film review breakdown in the film notes as well. But let's talk about this Georgia-Florida news today. It was announced that due to the fact that Jacksonville Jaguars will be renovating their stadium over the 2026 and 2026 seasons, this Georgia-Florida matchup, which is annually obviously played in Jacksonville, will be relocated to a neutral site game at Mercedes-Benz in 2026 and a neutral site game in Tampa at the Buccaneers Stadium in 2027. I'll open the floor with you guys. What were your initial thoughts when the news broke today?
It's kind of what I expected.
Really?
Yeah, when I heard that they were going to be finding a new location for the game due to the stadium renovations, I kind of figured that they're just going to do a home and home, but they're going to do it in Atlanta, and then they're also going to do one in Tampa as well.
The fan in me is disappointed because, man, Athens and Gainesville with Georgia and Florida fans would be a riot like it was in the 90s, but the analyst and the person who pays close attention and understands that money talks in this league very much gets it and kind of expected this, like Jay Will said. They weren't going to do this anywhere other than neutral site games to, one, protect the quote-unquote sanctity of this being a true neutral site game. I think that you give home advantages, you kind of wither that away. I understand you've done it before, but it checks out, honestly. As disappointed as I am, I'm also a little bit excited for it because just seeing these two teams play in a different venue will be fresh and new.
I will say this before I give you some actual reporting on this. The idea that this should be a home and home is the most universally agreed upon stance that I see in the Georgia fandom on social media.
Really?
Yep. And I've got a top 3 for you. You ready?
Ooh.
Top 3 things that Georgia fans unanimously agree upon on social media. Number 3, Matt Landers can't catch. Number 2, this matchup should be a home and home. Number 1, Tyler Simmons was on sides.
That is the number one. Absolutely. I don't know. I don't think it should be a home and home.
You know why it's unanimously agreed upon on social media, and I don't see the idea that we love the Jacksonville location
Why is
from
that?
fans on social media? Because it's a lot of the older crowd that likes the Jacksonville location.
There's a lot of old money.
And they ain't on the Twitters. But I bet if I ran to Facebook, I'd find them.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, there's a lot of old money in the Georgia, Florida that kind of treats this as that pseudo vacation where we're going to Jacksonville for the weekend.
Yeah, I had a commenter a couple years ago was like, I love to take that week off as a doctor every year and go down to the beach and spend a week off and treat it as a fall vacation. I'm like, bro, congrats on your success.
All right, money bag.
Wow. But yeah, no, it is a very special thing. And I've also heard the South Georgia fans, this is their closest opportunity to go see a game. And I understand that as well. But you're outpricing those guys every year, those South Georgia fans.
Yeah.
You know, this is the highest ticket sale value, face value every year for the most part.
Yeah.
Unless Bama comes to town or Texas.
It's a top
next year.
5 matchup.
Yeah. So this is an expensive ticket every single year. But it's pretty simple, right? The old money and the old booster base has a nostalgic factor to this and obviously likes it a lot. But the other thing is just it must be that – the money must be that good, you know? Obviously, the city of Jacksonville puts up money for this. The municipalities down there put up money for this as well. So it just must be that financially beneficial for both of these schools to where they just agree upon it.
Yeah, and I think that's another reason why they didn't want to do a home and home, because you'd have a hard time.
Just teasing your fan base has an opportunity to be far more vocal than they were in the mid-90s.
Exactly. So you're opening yourself up to an opportunity of both fan bases being like, please don't ever go back to Jacksonville.
Yeah.
We don't want that anymore. So
Yeah.
you put yourself, it would be awesome. Well, it would be great to get a home and home of Georgia goes to the Swamp. Gators have to come up to Athens for just 2 years. It would be fantastic. It would provide 2 electric environments. I think it would be fantastic. You're also putting yourself into a potential where you that ruins anything else that you wanted for the rivalry as far as it being played in Jacksonville.
I did some digging on this today, and I can't tell you everything that I was told, but it is financially beneficial for both of these football programs to make this a neutral site game. I'll say that.
It checks out, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
You're splitting the gate of a gate that's more expensive every year as opposing to trading the gate every other year.
Mm-hmm.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's just, if you just do it that way, it makes a lot of sense financially.
And not only that, it's a gate that always does well because it's an event.
Correct.
It's not one of these, they're playing some group of 5 team at noon. We're only going to have a 80% capacity type stadium. Like, it's an event that sells out almost every time.
I mean, and there's a lot of businesses too, like in St. Simon's in that area, and even in Jacksonville as well, where this is probably their biggest weekend of a lot of times, outside of maybe during the summertime, when people are going to the beach. But this is a massive weekend for a lot of businesses down there.
This would be a great time for the Larry Munson impersonation of "There's going to be riots in St. Simon's," but I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to sit that one out. Run, Lindsay. What was I going to bring up on this? Oh, there was a lot of posturing a few years back from Kirby Smart about recruiting, right? And how they're taking away a potential for a home matchup and bringing recruits in, and this being our biggest rival, and how awesome would the atmosphere be? And it'd be a night, whatever. There's a lot of posturing from Kirby about this in years prior. Posturing that I don't think you hear as much about anymore. A, because maybe he didn't think he was going to win the battle. But B, I think priorities have switched and shifted, I should say, not switched. And here's what I mean by that. Used to, like, relationships were very important. Getting guys on campus and talking to them is very, very important. But we are going into an era of college football where your profit margins are what's most important, right? We've got a $20 million hit coming for every Power 4 football conference in the next 18 months due to House versus NCAA. The settlement of that alone is going to cost about $20 million annually. All right, those are the projections at least. So when it comes to these athletic administrations and these athletic departments nowadays, every dollar counts, and every dollar will ultimately impact your successes on the field nowadays as well, because your profit margins ultimately get rolled back into your player acquisition strategies moving forward in college football. So you're going to be looking at more bottom line based decisions moving forward, as you would expect with this $20 million hit coming.
Yeah, I mean, getting an extra, let's just say $15 million to your university to spend on recruiting is worth more than being able to bring recruits to your town and shake hands and all those things, because you can still do that. It might not be against your biggest rival, but you can still do it. So making that extra money is going to help essentially a lot more.
What did I miss out on the things that Georgia fans unanimously agree on? The black jerseys need to be worn more?
No, because there's a lot of people that still think they're cursed.
Or just don't think they don't care. Kirby Smart's the greatest coach in program history.
That's fair.
That's a pretty fair one.
Jake Fromm was better than Justin Fields?
Oh God. They would have beat the shit out of Notre Dame in 2012.
There's apparently some clarifications that need to be made about this $20 million annual dollar hit. Okay, so revenue sharing coming to college football. That's what House versus NCAA. Just quick Google on House versus NCAA. You'll find out that is a lawsuit of all of the collective athletes dating back to 2016, I believe, that are seeking retributions on their name, image, and likeness. And it will set the groundwork for the revenue sharing model that is ultimately coming to college football. Early projections out of that settlement is that there will be $20 million paid out annually, put into a pot that will be distributed to revenue sharing models to the athletes that are on these campuses. Okay, so how that money is getting delved out, we don't know, right? Is it a set salary for everybody who signs a scholarship? We don't know. How does a national letter of intent get sold nowadays, or solidified nowadays, considering you're not trading for tuition, for example, but now you're trading for a salary in a sense? All of this stuff hasn't been cleaned out yet, but what has come out of the House versus NCAA settlement that they are agreeing upon right now in terms of terms is that they're going to put up a $20 million annually for these revenue sharing models. And if you can't afford it, you're just no longer a Power 4 football team or a Power 4 athletic administration. Most of these teams can't afford it, though.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, clarification on that. Also, not to do the thing. But if you've been listening to this network since February, we've been talking about this ad nauseum.
I don't think that person who asked.
No. And that's what I'm saying. But I just wanted to say that because there's value in this network. Because we talk about things that you should know about, like the idea that your team's on the hook for $20 million next year. And wherever you've been listening to, whatever you've been listening to, the fact that we're like 8 months from that happening and you're unaware tells you the value of the content.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Where should we go next, boys? We're in the local hour.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, we are.
Good job.
Y'all want to go film notes?
Let's hear them.
All right, let's do film notes. I broke down Florida's defense today. And look, I don't know if it's because Georgia fans are not very fearful of Florida in this matchup, but y'all ain't been showing up for that one. So I'm just going to challenge y'all to go watch film study because it is important and there's valuable information there to be had. Let's start with it. I'm all for playing lots of guys. You know, I'm a dudes fiend. I love me some dudes, lots of quality dudes. But you've got to have the dudes to do that. Like, if you're going to play 40 dudes, you better have 40 good ones, 40 winnable football players. And I don't think Florida has that box checked at this point. Perhaps they do it by design. They're a young football team that obviously is in rebuilding mode still under, Billy in his third year now. But second year now, third year. Now in his third year there, right? Still rebuilding things, right? Wanting to play young football players. I understand it, but I think in a matchup like this, when you're out-talented on the other side of the football, if I were Florida, I'm trimming the rotations this week against Georgia, particularly on the defensive side of the football. They've had specific plans for each individual opponent, and I think this is I think this is an Austin Armstrong thing, and I think this is a good thing, but the problem is what I'm going to lay out here in a second. It's awesome that against Tennessee, you were like, hey, we're going to load the box, stop the run, play some man coverage because these guys can't beat us deep. It's awesome that against Kentucky, you obviously had a different plan. You're going to play a lot of zone coverage, make them be able to have to beat you through the air, make Brock Vandagriff read through zone concepts. It's great. But here's the problem. In my opinion, there's no adjustments from this football team throughout the game, right? You see them come out with their game plan, and you see it giving problems to opponents, but eventually the opponent settles in and starts taking shots based off what they're doing because they're staying in the same defense, even though it's a new defense from what they were showing the week before. And here's how you know this happens, and we love to do this on this channel. I see something on film, and I'm like, damn, they ain't really adjusting. They're not adjusting. So I'm like, oh, teams must eat them alive quarters 2 through 4. They're really good for quarter 1, but teams must eat them apart quarters 2 through 4. So guess what I found out today, Jonathan? I ran my own stats. Didn't even ask you to do it. Florida has allowed just 27 points in the first quarter of football games this year. That is 3.8 points per game allowed in the first quarter.
Nice.
Here's the problem. They allow almost 24 points per game. Ooh. Yeah, so in that last 3 quarters of the football game, they're giving up about 90% of their total points on the year. Film don't lie, stats back it up. They do not adjust. And this is a bad matchup going against a coordinator like Mike Bobo, who's, in my opinion, one of the better adjusters in game. Like, it's what we saw against Alabama. It's what we saw against Clemson. Didn't quite see it against Kentucky, but I saw it on film in terms of him trying to get to answers. Okay, I see week in, week out, Bobo coming out with a plan, noticing that the plan needs to be adjusted, and then adjusting the plan. I don't see that at all on tape from Austin Armstrong. They got big boys up front, especially number 21. Everybody knows about him, but I do think he's got some tendencies. We pointed that out on tape. If you see a true designated 4-point stance, dude's coming forward. If you see a 3-point stance with a split stagger, he's probably going side to side. He's so big that he can't do it unless he cheats it in his stance. I had these very similar problems in the triple option trying to play at 300 pounds. It's just impossible. You're in a 4-point stance, you got to be able to move laterally, and if you carry too much weight in your midsection, you're going to have problems doing that. They will stay fresh because they rotate so many bodies, but I still think you got to run these guys side to sideline. They're too big in the interior of the defensive line to believe that they can run with you sideline to sideline in terms of team speed. They fit the run inconsistently. I think it's something we saw on tape pretty clearly, and I think it's why they've allowed 100-yard rushing games in every game but 2 this year, and every game against Power 4 opponents. And that's why. They gave up 250 yards against Texas A&M because they just fit things inconsistently. They might fit counter really well 1 rep, and then the next rep give up a 35-yard explosive. They're just not consistent in their run fits. I think Georgia takes advantage of that Saturday. I already told you, I think they play way too many guys, and he wants to be multiple as a defensive coordinator, but I think the propensity to play too many football players might limit his ability to be multiple as a defensive coordinator. When we're rotating a bunch of bodies out there, particularly young guys, we might not be wanting to get too in-depth. I'd mix personnel early. I'd mix the personnel counts really, really early to find out why or how he's playing, what he's playing, and then begin to attack him. Like I said, you can see that happening in their score sheets. Guys, Texas A&M and Miami are the only 2 football teams all year to score a first quarter touchdown.
Wow.
They've only allowed 2. So I'm just letting you know, if this looks like a 6-3 first quarter score, that's par for the course for this Florida football team. It doesn't mean they're going to have a great day. And in fact, most of the time it means they're going to unravel towards the end of this football game. Defensively, in terms of players to watch, 14 and 6 are my favorite from Florida. Shamar James, I can't remember what number 14's name is, but he's a true sophomore and has been playing since his true freshman year for this football team. He's really big, really long, and makes impactful plays on the ball. The other thing about this team, they catch tips. They catch a lot of tipped interceptions. They do not let the ball hit the ground when it gets tipped in the air. So that's a problem for a Georgia football team that's had some balls bounce off their hands and their face mask over the last, 8 weeks of college football.
Tips and overthrows.
Tips and overthrows will kill you.
Yeah.
So the one thing I've noticed from your assessment of this is most of the issues that you have with this roster in general aren't really skill-based.
No, dude, I think they're talented. I do. I think that's why you see the FPI rating as high as it is. They're a top 30 team in the football power index. I know you're anti-football power index, but it's all I'm referencing right now. And when I look at it on tape, I see really talented football players who are maybe inconsistently coached at times. Not offensively, though. Offensively, I don't see a lot of errors, right? I don't see a lot of misassignments. I don't see a lot of guys getting beat consistently. I don't see a donkey on that offensive line. I don't see one guy we would attack where, like, most of the time going to these football games, I got a guy I'm circling that I'm hunting. I don't necessarily feel that way about this roster right now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think they're losing it in the margins, Kirby. And honestly, have they been blown out?
Oh, they got
blown up by
beat
Miami.
pretty good by
Miami
and
beat
A&M.
the shit
And
out
then
of them.
A&M pulled away.
But they kind of playing competitive football right
for
now.
sure, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think you can see that on tape. Any other questions? Comments? Concerns?
Michigan just lost a QB commit.
Ooh. Oh, that's happening. The
Going-
price don't went up.
Swirling the
Bryce Underwood.
grain.
Yeah.
Who was the decommitment?
His name is Carter Smith. He's a 4-star.
NPC.
Get
He had
outta here.
pledged to the Wolverines since 2023 of November.
Dave
NPC.
Portnoy says, beat it. Who are
Interesting.
the top 5 players of the
Yeah, I
country?
got a good one here. I'm going to let y'all go first. Top 5 players in the Georgia football rivalry in the CKS era. I don't know why I want to do that twice. I guess I wrote it in the notes twice, and my brain's just doing that.
For those who don't know, CKS is Coach Kirby Smart.
Yep.
Do you want me to go, Jay, or do you want
Yeah,
to?
you got it.
All right,
You look
I've got,
busy.
I went number 5, DeAndre Swift. DeAndre Swift had a 3-game career at Georgia against Florida. Started off in that freshman season with a really, really big 75-yard passing reception. Obviously did the, hurt Chauncey Gardner-Johnson after he was talking about Jake Fromm can only throw slants. Also won you the game pretty much in 2018 with that late fourth quarter touchdown run. So big ups for him. Had a really good career against Florida. Next, I have Kearis Jackson. Kearis Jackson in 2 games against Florida had 135 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns.
Man, y'all's list is way better than mine.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Non-ball knower. Keep going.
Ooh.
I mean, you'd be hard-pressed to find a receiver with a better stat line against Florida under the Kirby Smart era. Like, receivers just haven't really shined in this rivalry with Kirby Smart. Number 3, I have Nolan Smith for obvious reasons. I mean, he went absolutely mental at the end of the first half of the 2021 game. Pretty much gave you 14 points and was a big reason why you won that game 34-0 or 3. I think you shut him out either way. Number 2, I have Brock Bowers. For what he did his freshman year in that 2022 game, I mean, he was the best player on the field the entire time he was there. Didn't get to see him in 2023 because of that ankle injury, but he's certainly up there. And number 1, I have Jake Fromm. I know that might rub some people the wrong way, but he's one of the few quarterbacks that's gone 3-0 against Florida, with the
Did
exception
go undefeated against Florida.
undefeated against Florida. And let's be fair, Jake Fromm played some of his best football against Florida. Whether you
Yeah, no, he had one of his only career wins with 30-plus passing attempts in one of those football games.
Exactly. So, I mean, you say what you want about his career. I know we've had critics of it, but Jake Fromm played his best football against Florida.
Yeah, he really lit them up on 22 passing attempts over those 3 games on average.
He did
Went
everything.
3-0.
He did everything you asked him to.
He did. He went 3-0.
Made every throw you want him to. Aaron Murray didn't even go 3-0.
Yeah, I guess Lamont Gaillard needs to be on this list too.
Easy now.
Whoa.
Easy now.
Whoa.
Go ahead, bro.
Lamont, if you're listening, that was uncalled for, wasn't it?
Text me and I'll give you his address so you can come kick his ass.
You giving up mom's address?
throw some
Giving up mom's
stones at
address
him.
is
Come
crazy, bro.
stone this man.
What do you got for me, J-Will?
Number 5, I have Nakobe Dean. He
Ah,
had
that's a good one.
15
Yeah.
tackles in 2020.
Yeah, and a pick 6.
They lost the game, and then the next year he had 7 tackles and a pick 6.
That's
so
a good one.
15 tackles is ice bath worthy.
yeah, I mean,
Couple of them.
lost the game.
Now
but
that
man,
was also
15.
Ought to get a free Kia.
the
after a
infamous
performance
wheel
like
route
that.
game. Free what?
A free Kia.
a free Kia.
Yeah, just you played so well today. We're giving you a Kia vehicle, 2-door hatchback.
Man.
Right? Thanks.
Number 4, I have Sony Michel. I know, even though this is the Kirby Smart era.
I can't believe Jake Fromm went 1. That was so crazy.
Oh, you're gonna be pissed at me too then.
Oh, go ahead.
Michelle went 6 for 137 yards
20, yeah.
and 2 touchdowns in 2017.
I wanted to put him on my list, but he was 1-3 against Florida.
No, he was, but the
Unfortunate.
2017 performance was a
Yeah, I mean,
memorable
that was
one.
a baller performance.
I also had Nolan Smith at number 3 on my list. That single performance by him was just that's one of those moments that will always remain with you. Like in 20 years, when someone asks you, like, "Oh, what Florida game do you remember?" You talk about Nolan Smith. Nolan Smith is brought up in that conversation.
Also was playing very well in 2022 before he tore his pec in that game. I think he had a sack.
Mm.
I think he had a sack against Anthony Richardson there. So
Number 2, I had Brock Bowers. Did you know that he had the most receiving yards in the Rivalry's history over the last 23 years?
I didn't even know that.
Yeah. Well, Adam McConkey has the second highest.
Yeah,
from
he
last
made my
year.
list.
And then number 1, I do have Jake Fromm. You go 3-0. You go undefeated 3 years in a row. You beat Florida.
Number 5, Lad McConkey. Obviously, I think he had over 220 yards in the last 2 games against Florida. Number 4, Nakobe Dean for that matchup that you guys referenced, the 15 tackles, and then the year after that, the pick 6. Also the greatest call that I've heard since Larry Munson. Scott Howard's, Nakobe Dean, 15, 10, 5, dinner's cooking, touchdown, Georgia. Loved it. Number 3, Trayvon Walker. Now, you guys have Nolan Smith on this list for that fumble recovery and the interception. I have Trayvon Walker on this list because that was the football game that I watched on tape, and I was like, this guy's not from this planet.
No.
This guy's not from here.
Tipping that ball in the air.
Yeah, the
drop it in
interception from
coverage.
bro, drops in coverage, gets into a perfect hook curl zone, turns around, sees the deep over, reaches out, tips it with his finger. Nolan Smith picks it off. Absolute freakazoid in that
Yeah.
football game. That was the first one where I was like, my God. The freshman year running on kickoff, and then the Florida game, I was like, this is the most freakish athlete I've ever seen. Number 2, Zamir White, 21 carries for 212 yards, 2 tuds the last 2 games against Florida. 21 carries, 212 yards. He was
baby.
walking first down against Florida.
It
for
was
2 straight
that
years.
75-yard touchdown in 2020 helped.
And then
he
number
broke
1,
one off in 21 as well. Yeah,
huh?
he had 2 explosives.
Facts. And then number 1 on my list of top 5 Georgia-Florida football players in the Kirby Smart era. No one impacted wins for Georgia more than Anthony Richardson. Number 1.
Valid.
That's a good shout out. I
That's
like
fair.
that.
That's fair. I do think Jake belongs on that list, but 3 games, 600 passing yards, 6 touchdowns, 1 interception.
Buddy, I'm sorry, but when you win for the first time in your career, when being asked to throw for 30 times, those first 2, their team wins. They're not Jake Fromm wins.
That's fair.
So
That's
sorry
fair,
about
but
that.
he played some of his best football against Florida, and
But he wasn't as good for Georgia as Anthony Richardson was.
No.
probably not. I don't know. That throw to Eli Wolf was a dime in 2019.
That one throw to Eli Wolf was a dime. He also hit Lawrence Cager on that one route, too.
Mm-hmm.
Wide open.
Man was dealing.
Was.
I think Lawrence Cage and Nolan Smith are like two of the most iconic names from this rivalry over the last 6 years.
Yeah,
For the Georgia
Lawrence
side, at
played with
least.
like a separated shoulder too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
He was injured throughout that year, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Also, I can't wait to tell the story about a famous, very well-known football player that missed one of those matchups and why he missed that matchup. I'm going to tell that one when I'm retired.
Hasn't that one already been kind of aired out?
Not on this network, has it?
I don't think so.
I don't. I've
Maybe in Discord.
heard it from you, but I've also heard it like with other people.
Classic story
Yeah.
that we can't tell on air,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately. There. Where should we go next, boys?
Shall we give predictions?
I guess. Let's do it. No, let's set props.
All right.
Let's set props right
I've
quick.
got a
Let's do this. You got
load.
7 for us,
I've got a
and then
load
we're
of
going to
props.
roll this segment into a better play.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Come on, Curb.
First prop I have: Trevor Etienne, 1.5 rushing touchdowns. You taking the over or under on that?
He's
Go
been
ahead.
good for at least one a game, it seems like.
And that running back room has thinned out tremendously.
That is true. You know what? Just for the sake of it, playing against your former team, he gonna want it. I'll say he hits the over.
All right, Brooks.
I'm going to go with the over as well. I think Georgia walks the football Saturday. I think they got an opportunity to put up some points.
Number 2, Jalen Walker, 1.5 sacks, over or under?
He holds the ball a long time.
Yeah,
Give me the over.
2 sacks. Man, 5 sacks in 2 games.
That's
I don't
a
know, I
lot.
can't-
I mean, 9 on the year, I think, right?
I think
Oh, he's got
seven-
4.5 right
Seven.
now.
I think it would be 7.5 if you did.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, do you know the last Georgia player to have 3.5 sacks in a football game, or 3 or more sacks in a football
Sackman
game?
Jones.
No.
3 in a football game.
More recent than
Oh,
you think.
Channing Tindall.
No.
He had 2.5 against Tennessee.
3 or more.
3 or more. What?
Since 2020?
What?
It's not N'Kobe, is it?
No.
Oh, was it?
Robert Beal?
No.
Was it Adam Anderson?
No.
Come on.
Aziz Ojulari against Cincinnati.
The best
right.
run-to-pass conversion guy that Georgia's ever had. And I would venture to bet he's got more sacks off play action than anybody that's come through, at least since I've been studying this football team. His ability to set the run and then notice its pass, disengage, and close space, ain't been nobody like it since.
He was a really good one for Georgia.
Yeah, he was.
Good player.
Next.
I didn't say
Oh, my
mine,
bad, my
but
bad.
I'll say the over. I'll say he gets 2.
Next prop: Georgia's defense, over or under 2.5 turnovers.
I'll say under.
I
I can see you forcing 2.
Give me 1.5. Yeah, I'm going under.
The only reason I went 2.5 is because this is a game where you feel like if Florida's going to want to win, DJ Lagway is going to have to be special, which means you're going to have to ask him to do more, which means he's probably going to be at more risk of turning the ball over. He has shown propensity to do that, so there's an avenue for them to have 3.
Mm-hmm.
So next one I have, Brett Thorson, over or under 1.5 first half punts.
First half punts.
So 2 first half punts. He's going to hit that.
Give me the over. I just told you. Florida's defense is at least good to start a
Yeah,
quarter.
I could see 2 punts in the first half.
All right. Next one,
Can
Dominic.
I Oklahoma drill Brooks Austin? Bro, I got pads. Let's go. Let's go. Line it up. As long as you're not at least
Yeah. Who is
6'3". Yeah, at least
who is
if
this
you're,
guy
if you're
before you-
6'3", 250 plus, no thank you.
When's the last time you had an Oklahoma drill?
Was the last time I strapped it up?
Just did Oklahoma drill.
I mean, obviously last year of college football, so it would have been
Right.
2016 for me.
It's been 8 years out the game.
No, 2017 for me.
7 years out the game. Dang.
Yeah, been a little minute. Also, Oklahoma is not what you're asking for because it's 1v1. So you'd want a board drill, and we can probably up that up to like 6'5", 300. If you're 6'5", 300 standard like regular Joe up off the street, come on, you can get the smoke on some board drill.
Board
Anything
drill's a
north of
little
that,
less,
I'm good.
a little less dangerous.
Yeah,
though,
low
'cause
man
the
wins.
Point of impact.
Low man
is-
wins. Low man wins. Got to have first feet in the ground. Like, I'm a technician in that beat. So, yeah, good luck.
Oklahoma drill is dangerous.
Oklahoma drill is fun.
Yeah.
I enjoyed Oklahoma drill. I do not like board drill.
Interesting.
Yeah. Where were we at?
We're doing props.
Oh, I thought Mans was testing my manhood. I thought that's where we were at. Go ahead.
All right. Dominic Lovett, 40.5 receiving yards. He's had one game over 80.
The line
but
right now on better is 58.5.
he's got a lot of 30s in this. I looked at it. He's got a lot of 30s, a couple of 60s, and one 80.
I'll say over.
Yeah, over that line. The 56.5 or 58.5, whatever it is on better right now, is hairy.
I wouldn't touch it.
All three receivers. Arians at 51.5 on better right now.
I'd take it.
Dominic Lovitz at like 54.5, and Dylan Bell's at 49.5.
I would take the Arian one.
Segues perfectly into this next one. Arian Smith, over under half a receiving touchdown. Is he going to catch a touchdown on Saturday?
I'm gonna say no. He gets tackled inside the 10.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Ball slightly underthrown, tackled inside the 10. Because the thing about Arian Smith scoring a touchdown, that ball's got to be thrown in stride. You know what I mean? Like, we know he's going to get behind the defense on Saturday, but if the ball's not in stride, odds are he's not getting it in the box.
Yeah.
So
that's fair. All right, my last one. Malachi Starks, 6.5 tackles. He had, I think, only 3 in the first 2 games. Since
I'm
then,
going under.
Since then, he's been good for about 6 to 8.
I don't know. You
also
no shit. He's playing star. He's playing star Saturday. I'm going over.
I would say keep in mind,
especially
Janelle
with the
Aguero
first half.
and Dan Jackson will not be in the first half of this game.
Is that being – so what do you think the rotation is going to be? I think it's going to be Malachi Star with KJ and Ja'Cory as safety.
Maybe throw in some Jake Pope. Maybe.
I mean, I'm sure he'll get some first half run. I would assume so.
Depends on how long the series are for Florida.
Yeah.
If Florida takes 40 snaps in the first half, Jake Pope's going to play. If they take 15,
you
Jake
get
Pope's
3 and
playing.
outs.
Jake Pope ain't playing.
He won't be on the field.
Yeah. Is that the rare situation where if you're Jake Pope, you're like, ooh, give me a 10-play drive?
Probably, yeah.
Trying to get some PT.
Don't chunk it Lagway.
I just want to see him. I just want to see him walk out there with the beehive. The hornet's nest on his hand.
Come on, now. The legacy game.
Yeah, my bad. The rare legacy G-Day game.
I love a good legacy.
Jack the Meek's got one of those too.
Oh, yeah.
He was eating.
He was eating. Hey, Rick Gilbert got one of them too.
Makai Muse got one too.
Hell yeah, dude. Damn.
A.D. Mitchell.
Yeah, I mean, but that's not a legacy game for AD.
That's fair.
You know what I'm saying?
That's fair.
We're talking about moments of pure bliss for people who never did much after the G-Day game.
That's fair.
I don't even know where we're at.
You're going to do a better play now.
Yeah. All right, you've gotten all your props out?
Yep, that was all 7.
All right, let's share some screen right now and get over there and get a better play on this football game. Let's go to Let's View. All right, we're going to share screen. We're going to start the broadcast. Don't know why I'm walking you through every one of these steps that you guys can't see, but I'm doing it anyways because we're ad-libbing. All right, let's go over to Better right now. All right, we're going to go to college football. All right, we're going to go down to the Florida-Georgia matchup, and here are the actual lines. I don't know who Edgar Badger is. The Eugene Wilson line's still available, by the way.
Hop on over there, people.
Yeah, hop on over right now. Promo code Brooks. You got an automatic one. I've already put an entry in for it, so I'm going to go ahead and hit it again.
Hey, cheat the system when you can.
Hey, don't say that about premier sponsors. But yeah, definitely go over there right now. Promo code Brooks. Arian Smith, you like the over at 51.5?
I like it.
It's like 2 catches.
I'd have a hard time not ever taking an Arian Smith over if it's set at that.
All right, let's make a play here. Let's put a good dub on that. Oh, not 520. That's a lot. All right, let's go here. I guess I don't have enough money. It's a great thing to be doing on air. Why is it not?
Making
we got $5 in
better.
cash. Yeah.
You need to take it off the screen.
No, you're good. I just placed a $5 entry because that's what was left in my account, I guess. I got too much money in action right now because I made 3 plays today, 2 on air and 1 behind the scenes. We're halfway there on both of those, so that's awesome. You can be halfway there on your first deposit over there at Better right now with that Eugene Wilson play that they don't know about right now. Don't tell them. Shh. Keep it on the DL. All right, score predictions. Let's do it. Who wants to go first?
I can go first.
Please do. Jump on it.
I can do it. I don't care.
Jump on it.
I think that this is going to be another scenario where a Georgia football team in this rivalry where they kind of jump out early and it's just going to be cruise easy sailing from that point on. I do think that is going to be close in the first quarter. I feel like most of these Georgia-Florida games are kept close after the first quarter. Typically, a lot of these rivalry games for Georgia, that's how they play out. So I think this could be close in the first quarter, but from that point on, I think that's going to be cruising, easy sailing on both sides of the football. I think Georgia's defense is going to continue to build off of the momentum and the confidence that they built against Texas. You're going to see guys getting in the backfield, putting pressure on Lagway, forcing him to be the great athlete that he is. But also, I think you're going to see another solid game from the defensive backs because they're going to have to stay attached longer. And I also think that they're going to be able to play action without having to worry about the run game, because I think that Georgia is going to take out Florida's ability to run the football. So I hope I'm out there. I think that Carson Beck is going to have a clean day Saturday. I think I'm going to go ahead and say that. I think he plays turnover-free football on Saturday, and I think it's going to be a big day for Trevor Etienne. So with that said, I have Georgia winning this football game, covering the spread. Georgia 35, Florida 17.
I have a very similar prediction for that. There's always been, kind of the last 3 or 4 years, there's been one moment where it's a close game. It's kind of like it's two teams filling themselves out. Then one thing happens where the wheels absolutely fall off for Florida. In 2021, we obviously know is the Nolan Smith fumble recovery that turned into 21 points in 2 minutes.
Directly after a pick six.
No.
Or slightly before?
The pick six was last. Nolan Smith fumble, Nolan Smith interception, pick six.
Kearis Jackson bomb head top right after one of the fumble or interceptions too.
Correct.
Go ahead.
But 2022 was the Brock Bowers tipped pass. That was miraculous catch. There it is.
The Carson Beck meme?
Yeah.
2023 was the TID fumble in their own red zone. So, I mean, there's always been this one moment that things just kind of go astray for Florida. And I think the game plays out very similarly like that. There's going to be a first quarter struggle between these teams. There's always been. Florida's probably going to look like a solid team. It's going to go, oh, boy, Georgia fans are going to take to Twitter to freak out. Then something's going to happen, and then Georgia's going to take control of the game, and it's never really going to look back. I like Georgia 38-17 in this. I think this is also a get-right game for Carson Beck. He's come under a lot of fire for, the turnovers he had, whether or not they're his fault. There's still been turnovers on his stat line, so I think he's going to make a strong point to play turnover-free football here. I think Georgia takes good care of the ball through all the day. 38-17 is my final prediction.
That's fair. We're all seeing this game relatively similar. I already laid it out. Florida's a really, really good defense in the first quarter. They seem to fall apart the rest of the football game because of their lack of adjustments. For that reason, I see this game starting tight, but it will only be a matter of time before Georgia's offense is moving the football at will. Question is, can they finish in the red zone? The difference between you guys' scores and mine is I do believe Georgia's going to have the ability to punch it in because you're going to spend a lot of time this week, I would imagine, developing some red zone offense against a football team that is really, really dedicated to stopping the run once you get it into that green zone with their big bodies up front. At one point in that Kentucky film, ball inside the 5, I saw 3 nose tackles on the field for Florida. Their whole mission is to not let you run the ball into the box. So you're going to have to be creative in those red zone attempts. I trust Mike Bobo's ability to do so. I see at least, bare minimum, like you guys said, a 38-point performance from this Georgia offense in this one. My only question is, can they get to the second half without allowing multiple explosives from Lagway? If you allow that, Lagway's confidence and this Florida confidence will ultimately continue and grow, right, as this football game goes on, especially without Dan Jackson and Jonel Aguero in the first half. Will you be able to limit those explosives consistently? My answer is yes. Georgia pulls away late in this football game, 42-24.
I like that. I think we're all kind of similar on this, where it's going to be close at first. It always is. It's going to look like a rivalry game. Florida's probably going to come out fired up. They've been fired up for their coach all season, but eventually Georgia's just going to out-talent them.
That's fair.
You know what's one matchup, though, I wish that we could have gotten to see in this rivalry, and we'll never get it, but something that would have been really fun to watch play out? I would have liked to have watched a Kirby Smart versus Steve Spurrier chess match.
Yeah. I would have liked to see what Kirby would have done to that air raid offense.
That fun and gun, yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't Spurrier beat Kirby Smart's defense while he was at Alabama?
2010, that's the Steven Garcia legacy game.
Steven Garcia.
That's the game where he
That's a name right there.
Best quarterback in Gamecock history?
He thinks so.
It's either him or Connor Shaw.
Hey,
Yeah,
repping the fiery branch, baby.
I think Connor Shaw statistically is.
Connor Shaw was a demon for South Florida.
Hell
That
of a
was
football
the
coach, too, I
South
think.
Carolina game where he kicked the ball out of the end zone and for a safety, and Spurrier came and chewed his ass, and then ended up beating him.
I met Spurrier at this football game 2 years ago. Still walks around with an entourage. Still giving out takes too.
Yeah,
As he was going in, he was
especially during the
delivering
off
takes.
season.
Yeah,
they're always tapping.
What was
into
I'm
that
surprised
line.
ESPN never got him.
I don't think he wanted it.
Why wouldn't you want the gig of, when I want to give a take, I'll just hop on, give somebody a call? Or
Yeah. I don't think he wanted. I think when he retired from football, he was done.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
that
can see that.
2015 year in South Carolina was rough. What was he like, though? I've heard he's a great dude.
An aura for sure about him. But I think that's because he's legendary. But I think even when he was a coach, he had that about him, that level of aura. And like today's day and age, if that guy were coaching football, his press conferences would be must-watch TV.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God!
You think Lane Kiffin goes viral nowadays? Steve Spurrier
soundbite
would
after
have
soundbite.
just clip after clip after clip of this dude.
Steve Spurrier was going viral before viral was a thing. People were talking about. Did you hear what he just said at the halftime presser or the halftime interview?
We haven't talked at all this week about Etienne returning to this matchup on the other side.
I think it's such an overblown story at this point.
You think?
I think it's like the story to cover because everyone else in the national media is like, well, Georgia's going to beat the shit out of Florida. There's really nothing else to say except, hey, their running back used to play for Florida last year.
Why is Kirk on this call?
You don't like that?
No, I'm just for their purposes. Why is he here this weekend?
I thought it was interesting that he's not calling the Texas A&M South Carolina game.
Yeah,
It's Greg McElroy and that crew doing
good
that
crew.
one. Yeah, it is a good crew.
That's Kevin Nagandi
No,
with Greg.
No, Sean McDonough.
McDonough.
Yeah.
Still a good crew.
Former Monday Night Football guy.
Yeah.
I think they picked it. I think Kirk and Chris,
Booger Mobile. Oh man,
that was fun.
what a time to be alive.
The
The Burger Mobile. I don't know
Booger
why that
Mobile.
failed.
I want to be in the production room when they're like, "Hey, let's put Booger on the sky cam." Hey, but people pay a lot of money for those. No. But let's put Booger in them and have him traveling up and down.
I think my favorite Booger McFarland.
Yeah, coach, this is Boog.
That year where he was going viral for just saying the most obvious and blatant statements ever was so funny.
My favorite Booger McFarland quote ever was when Kelvin Benjamin was on the Bills. Booger McFarland goes, "Kelvin Benjamin's a Popeye's biscuit away from being a tight end."
He did say that.
He did, dude.
In his Booger voice. I still love he still does it. Every time he's interviewing a coach, he's like, "Yeah, coach, this is Boog." And I don't know why, but it makes me laugh every single time. What a professional way to introduce yourself. "Yeah, this is Boog." Yeah, we know it's you,
It's an
Booger.
unfortunate name.
No, it's not.
Booger.
I mean, it got nicknamed, and he rolled with it. That's a cool nickname.
Booger.
I mean, you can't look like me and be called Booger, I don't think.
What can you look like and be called Booger?
Booger McFarland.
yeah.
It fits perfectly for him. He looks like nothing. Like, if you told me that guy's name was Jeff, I'm like, nah, it ain't. His name's Booger.
Plus, when you're as good as he was on a football field, you can make any nickname kind of work.
I don't know. Well, I guess so.
Should we do some nostalgic tape today?
Let's do it.
Do have it.
You got something good for
This
me?
is a fun one for you.
I haven't watched it yet.
You're probably not gonna get it,
Mm,
but it is.
You know what? I'm going to be on the belief that he does get it.
thank you.
You'll have to ask a lot of questions for it. It's not one of these you can look at it, watch the frame, and say, "Oh, I know who that is."
And I'll explain why if you do get it.
That's Athens, Clark County.
No, that's what I thought immediately when I pulled it up.
We got a helmet rolling on the field. We didn't even get a circle on that guy. All right. Yeah, there's zero chance here. Wide receivers are tough.
Yeah, it is.
We might get a. Is this him?
It's him.
So he's light skinned, or at least he appears light skinned
What
on
are we
the
doing,
tape.
cameraman?
Oh my lord! Give me a time range here.
Kirby Smart era.
Oh, this is Mekhi Tung.
No.
No, that would have been a good one. He played quarterback in high school.
That was
though,
one
didn't
of
he?
my, for whatever reason, I thought he was going to absolutely bang.
All right, so this guy's about 6'4".
Mm-hmm. He was your ex at the time.
That's not Lawrence Cager, is it?
He's Lawrence Cage.
It's Lawrence Cager.
Yep.
That's why I thought you would get it, is because he has such a unique body type for Georgia wide receivers that you really don't have many of those, that I figured he would eventually stumble into it.
God, he's big, tall, and long.
Mm-hmm. High school shit talker, too.
Really?
I mean, he'll moss this kid and probably say something to him. Well, if he just outruns him, he can't really, but.
Lawrence still in the NFL playing tight end right now, isn't
Yeah,
he?
they moved him over. I think he's
Yeah.
on the Giants right now.
Yeah, he was with the Jets. They converted him to a tight end, and then he moved over to the Giants and
Yeah.
got signed this offseason, I think.
I actually think they waived him because they drafted Theo Johnson this year.
Oh,
So the room was kind of tight for tight ends. In
man, this was
Giants.
he's out of bounds.
Yeah.
This was one of his first Kirby's like real hits in the portal.
Yeah.
I felt like, at least offensively.
Besides Mo Smith.
Only 1 year at Georgia, but he has a Georgia tattoo on his thigh.
And I think a consensus damn good dog. I think everyone kind of gives him that,
You play
even
with a
though
separated shoulder for
yeah,
a team.
man.
I mean, he didn't play a ton. He was injured throughout the season, but the impacts he had in the games he played were massive. Notre Dame and Florida, you probably don't beat either of those
Out of bounds
teams
again, bro.
without one.
Referee staff in Maryland,
Out
what are you
here
doing?
shitting on his highlight tape from 7 years ago.
Oh, we got a truck stick. Go
Shoot,
back.
tried 9 years ago.
This was a Todd Hartley grab.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
You know that,
really?
right?
Yeah.
Todd was on this staff with Miami before he came back up to Georgia.
I remember that because I did like a little case study on Todd Hartley. Just absolutely, yeah. I wanted to go back and look at what he did at Miami. When I always has had great tight ends. Like this guy had David Njoku at Miami.
Where
a
is
bunch
this
of other
game
good.
being played? They got trees on the field.
That field looks uneven too. It looks like there's a mound in the
What
middle of
is
the field.
this?
You're looking at Syracuse's practice field.
I mean, it looks like.
Yeah, he was a good high school football player, wasn't he?
It's weird to think about that 2019 Georgia wide receiver room because there's so many names that it's such a what could have been roster. You had a freshman George Pickens, you had a freshman Dominic Blaylock, you had Lawrence Cager. I mean, there were names on there where it was like this should be a really, really, really talented room, and it just never panned out. But then again, I feel like that's the majority of what rooms have been.
Consistently. I feel like we go into like this year, I felt like we went into it and we were talking about how deep they were, how many options they've
It's
had.
the most talented room.
And now we get to the point where it's like there's 3 or 4, the rotation's real thin. You know, guys that you trust and guys that you consistently play. Who has a breakout game this weekend? My mind went to London Humphreys based off this conversation.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's like the players that are gonna break out, I feel like I already have. Like we know who London Humphreys is. His breakout game with Clemson. Nate Frazier, Clemson. There's not really a receiver on this room that's gonna get run that will have the opportunity to break out. I think it could be a Lawson Lucky type game. Lawson Lucky, Georgia fans know about him. They know he's the catching tight end, but national media is still kind of very high on Oscar Delp, which they should be. He's a talented tight end, but I feel like Lawson Lucky's where we finally get the chance that national media turns heads. What were you gonna say?
Nothing.
Say it with your chest,
What were you
bro.
gonna say, bro?
I said everybody's high on him except David Pollock.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah.
That was weird.
I didn't. What was this?
He said that based off what he's watching on tape, Carson clearly does not trust Oscar Delp.
Yeah, I don't really like doing that. I don't really like making assumptions.
Also, by the
like
way,
that.
I ain't seen that.
Yeah.
Not that I'm the all-knower of things like that, but I think that'd be something I would notice if he was. And David, if you're listening, bring me the clips of Oscar Delp running butt ass wide open and naked in the back end. It's not happening right now, so I don't know about that one.
Yeah, I just thought it was very interesting. I do.
You know what I think is interesting?
Huh.
You jamokes are out here giving Jake Fromm a win in a game in which he had 7 pass
Yes,
attempts.
7 pass attempts, 4 completions, and
Electric.
threw for 100 yards on those 4 completions. That's explosive as explosive gets, and you're a guy who measures explosives and values that highly.
I mean, holy
Let me
shit.
Nice try,
Hey,
buddy. That just spun.
Let me
on.
explain this.
Buddy, this dude's got Dubs with 12 pass attempts on his car. Dubs with 5.
Sir,
What?
That was 20.
we were a few years removed of the Fat and Bada experience.
And also, you had Nick Chubb and Sonny Michel on your roster.
I'm
Why
just
are you
saying,
making
man.
the freshman
Y'all
throw the
out here
ball?
doing the 3-0
We were
number
coming-
1 in all time. Why
I
don't you-
just
We were
told you.
coming off of
look
Grayson
at-
Lambert being the quarterback. Hudson Mason was the quarterback after Murray, and then we went to Fat and Bada one time.
Yeah, what you're talking about is trauma.
Yeah.
That's trauma.
Go look
So
at
then we got a Georgia quarterback that goes 3-0. You daggum right, he's on the list.
Go look at his 2019 and 2018 stat line. Threw for over 250 yards in each game. He had over.
Oh, dude, he's slaying. 250? Whoa. Give him the Heisman.
Dude.
He had 240 on 17 completions in 2018.
With 3 touchdowns and no interceptions.
In 2019, he had 30 attempts for 279.
Is that not doing everything he was asked to do? Keep in mind the offensive schemes that were being run at this time.
Yeah, they were just obliterating Florida, putting up 28 points offensively, dude. Just crushing them. Oh, they won that game 24-17. Let's give Jake Fromm the game ball.
Jake Fromm had the game-winning pass. Dude, the Jake Fromm hate is unreal tonight.
Just being realistic about my man's Jake Fromm. You know?
Name me a better quarterback in the Georgia history against Florida since then. And it's in that time, besides Stetson Bennett, who lost.
Stetson turned it over against Florida.
Stetson loved throwing picks against Florida, unfortunately. Name me a better quarterback against Florida.
Dude, all I'm doing is providing a little context to your take of number one. I don't think I would have balked at this if he was like 4 or 5, but both of y'all putting him at 1 because of a 3-0 record in which the defense and run game won 2 of those 3 games. I mean, come on.
Okay. Thanks.
Who would you have put at number 1?
did.
Legitimately besides Anthony Richardson.
I don't know.
A legit number 1 guy.
Yeah, I'd probably go Brock or legit.
It's not a bad one.
That's not a bad pick. I do not hate that, but I do think Jake Fromm deserves his flowers for what he was able to do against Florida. That's all I'll say.
See, we're very far removed from Grayson Lambert. For you people in chat, be saying he's great. Carson Beck's Grayson Lambert 2.0. Y'all don't remember then. Y'all absolutely do not remember.
I didn't mean to make this a anti-Jake Fromm chat tonight from yours truly, but that's on me. So apologize.
Oh man, I just looked at the chat, man. Who do you think's having a breakout game?
Kristen Miller in the sack department.
Ooh,
Okay,
he went
okay.
defensive.
Give me a sack or 2.
I like it.
Big game for one of the wide receivers. Don't know who it's going to be. It's so hard to predict this for me offensively because I don't know how Florida's going to try to play you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if I were Florida, I would have to have like 4 different game plans for Carson. I would just mix coverage the whole day, and not just because of him, but we've obviously seen wide receivers' inability to clarify the picture for him. Right? That London Humphreys play from last week is a prime example of a guy just not understanding that the defense is in a zone coverage. Right? So mixing those looks might be able to cause some problems.
I want a breakout game from Dominic Lovett because if it ever happens, if he just goes absolutely stupid for one game, it's going to be one of the most electrifying like tapes, like highlight reels.
Dude's going to be juked onto the ground.
Yeah, like if he puts it all together for 4 quarters and he just puts up dumb numbers, like gosh, it would be a fun highlight to go back and watch every now and then.
For those asking in the chat, no, Smile Munden is still listed as out. But other than that, I mean, with the exception of the guys you were expecting, obviously Joseph Jonah-Jonier, Rob, the ones that are out for the season and have been out extensively, you're relatively healthy. I mean, they had Dan Jackson, Jonel Aguero on the injury list. So.
We good?
Yep.
All right. We have another show tomorrow. It's Q&A only. If you want to start filling those out, head over to Twitter at BrooksAustinBA. Also want to tell you guys as we leave, I know a lot of y'all watch the film studies numbers say at a much higher rate than even the live shows. We have an email account set up for folks that if I say something during the live stream that you just don't understand, if it's a football term or a football technique, or if I say something and I move too fast and I don't explain it, we have an email account now set up for that. It's footballq4ba@gmail.com. And while we have the time, because we have 5 hours or 5 minutes, 5 hours would be tough. We have 5 minutes left in the hour. I'm going to go to some of these and answer some of these now because we've had some file in. I'm going to go first one to Michael Edwards. Wow, it's actually a relatively long email. Let me see here. Where's the question here, my guy? Don't understand what you mean by tunnel screen as opposed to other types of screenplays. I think your channel would have a lot of growth if you could present a glossary of concepts. This is actually what we're doing here. All right, so football Q for BA. Let's explain tunnel screen. Do we have Epic Pen up over there? Let's get Epic Pen over there, and we will explain a tunnel screen versus we'll actually go through the variety of screens here for you. Does that sound like a good idea? I think that's a good one. Again, this question comes from Michael Edwards over there in our football Q for BA. Again, football, spelled like football, FOR, the letter Q, 4BA. Okay, football Q 4BA. Now I'm unmuted. All right, so variety of screens available in the game of football nowadays. Let's start with what we call a tunnel screen. Normally, tunnel screens are ran to the single receiver side into the boundary. What's up?
He didn't change the camera.
Oh, my bad.
It's on me.
All right, normally tunnel screens are ran to the single receiver side into the boundary. Sometimes we'll do them 3-by-1 if we want to involve the wide receivers in the blocking scheme. But most people nowadays are running them to the short side, so we'll just draw it up on the short side. All right, you're going to take 2 steps hard up the field, sell the vertical. You're going to come back flat down the line of scrimmage and attack the ball as the quarterback's throwing it to you. We are releasing the front side 3 defenders, all right? And or 3 blockers. We're trying to create, guys, a tunnel right here in the defense, hence the term tunnel screen. Now, what other screens are available? Guys, we got bubble screens. We got all kinds of different screens nowadays. Let's talk about some more. Georgia likes to run. Back in the day with James Cook and some of these running backs that were really, really good out of the backfield, they'd run swing screens. I love a good swing screen, especially when you got 2 tight ends like Georgia had back in the day, right? Get into 12 personnel, really spread these guys out. Put the quarterback or the running back on the right side to the trips, swing him. Now we're going to block with these 3 guys, and we've now got our swing screen out into the boundary, or out into the field, rather, all right? What other screens we got, Curb?
You went over bubble screens, gel screens, swing screens. I mean, you could do a jet motion orbit screen.
Let's go a standard halfback screen.
Let's do that.
Okay, everybody knows this one. We're going to sell upfield on both of the tackles. Make sure you lose outside, all right? We're going to invite the speed rush, get these guys upfield. We're going to go for a 3 count here. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, shred and throw, okay? That's what we want to do right here in the middle, and then we're going to release. All right, we're going to release out. Most of the time, center's got the mic. All right, you're taking MDM out here, most dangerous man. You're taking MDM out here, most dangerous man.
Did you go over single wide receiver screens? How to do it?
Like a now screen?
Yeah.
All right, now screen's nice and simple.
These are what they hit with Arian a lot.
Yep. And now with Trevor Etienne, they'll get into empty and they'll run now screens as well. So let's draw that one up. All right. They get into duos this year with the X and the Y over here. All right. And the slot receiver and the Z over here. Sometimes those are flip-flop nonetheless. All right. And then they'll motion to empty out here, put the running back all the way over here, get these guys to block, and they'll throw a now screen, meaning down the hut, you turn around, we're throwing it right now. All right, so those are all of our screen options. Okay, again, if you got any questions for your boy, if I say anything during a film study that you don't quite understand, Football Q 4BA is the email account to hit us up on. Thank you, Michael, for doing those. We got some time. Let's try to hit another one right here. Evan Sanders, mush rush. You said mush rush a few times. What were you talking about there? Oh my, this has been listening since the JT Daniels film study. Shout out to the OGs right there. Yeah. Shout out to the OGs. So a mush rush. All right, there's a speed rush, there's get up the field rush, there's aggressive rushes, and then there's a mush rush. The mush rush is the idea that nobody's getting on a different level. We're trying to take the 5 offensive linemen and push them into the quarterback. We're trying to contain that guy, rush with good integrity, and rush with good discipline. That is a mush rush. Let's go 3 for 3 right here. Let's grab another one. This one comes from Robert Howard. Robert says, first off, love your podcast, man. Secondly, a lot of Georgia fans have been critical of our cornerbacks this year. Some of it fair, some of it not. In years prior, the corners would literally play one side of the field for the entire game. When the quarters changed, they wouldn't move and accordingly would go from playing left side of the field to the right side of the field, vice versa. I'm probably wrong on this, but to my memory, the only time they switched up on that was against Oregon in 2022 when Ringo played boundary, and against Missouri in 2023 when Lassiter lined up on Burden. Could you touch on that during one of your podcasts? Why is this the case and whatnot? All right, so the reason they don't flip field anymore, the reason they don't not doing field boundary or anything like that is a simple answer. Do you know why?
Say it again.
Why do teams no longer flip corners or travel or anything like that?
Because, I mean, one, if you're going fast, it can prevent a massive issue.
That's the answer. It's the pace, right? We can't flip sides of the field when teams are able to get on the ball and run no huddle as frequently as they do in college football. The aforementioned situations that you put into the email right there, the Oregon 2022, that was because number 11, who I think I drafted pretty high out of Oregon, was a burner. And every time they lined him up into the boundary, they like to run that guy vertically, and they just traveled Keeley into the boundary all day long because they felt like his top end speed was better than Kamari Lassiter's. They'd be correct in that, but Kamari obviously played the ball a whole hell of a lot better. The Lassiter matchup was obviously a burden thing, and he locked that ass.
You're
Good?
good.
I like that.
That was fun.
Appreciate you guys. Submit those as often and as frequently as you can, and we'll try to get to those as often and as frequently as we can. For Brooks Austin, for the Film Guy Network, for Kirby, for Jay Will, we'll see you guys next week.